My girlfriend and I were driving through a city in southern Texas. The sun had already dipped below the horizon. The long drive had made us both tired and a little bit restless. We decided to pull off the main highway for a quick stop. We needed some snacks and drinks for the rest of our journey. The car rolled to a halt in front of a small, unkempt gas station. It was one of those places that looked like it had been forgotten by time. The paint was peeling on the walls. The lights flickered around the sign. For some unknown reason, a strange feeling washed over me. It was a strong urge, a very clear impulse. I felt the absolute need to go inside with her this time. This was highly unusual for me. Normally, I would always stay in the car. I would wait patiently while she ran inside. Sometimes I would get out to stretch my legs, but I never felt compelled to announce my intentions. This time, I knew I had to tell her. I turned to her and spoke. I told her I really felt like I should come in with her right now. She looked at me, a little surprised, but just nodded. We stepped out of the car together. We walked towards the gas station entrance. Everything felt ordinary at first. We were laughing and joking as we walked. There was a cardboard cutout near the door. It showed a woman, half-dressed, advertising some beer. Her face was incredibly pixelated. It looked almost like a low-quality photograph blown up too large. We made a lighthearted comment about it. We then walked into the store. The air inside felt heavy. It was not cold, just dense and still. We started looking at the different beer options. I was being very indecisive. My mind kept drifting from the choices. A subtle change in the atmosphere began to press in on me. I could sense something shifting. My girlfriend also seemed to pick up on it. I could tell we were both starting to feel a little bit sketched out. The casual laughter had died down between us. We became quieter, almost tense. I grabbed 2 coconut margarita-flavored drinks quickly. I did not even think about the choice. My only thought was that we needed to get out of there fast. I rushed to the counter. The feeling of being watched intensified with every step. It was not just a casual glance. It was an intense, piercing stare. It felt like pure malice. I had never experienced a feeling like that before. It was a cold, sharp sensation. I cannot really describe the exact nature of it. It was like a predator's gaze. As I placed our items on the counter, I saw him. There was an old man leaning against the ice cream cooler. He was Hispanic, with a weathered face. He was positioned right by the counter. He was watching every single customer. His eyes followed their movements with an unnerving slowness. Everything in the store seemed to move in slow motion. It is hard to explain the strange, dragged-out pace of things. When I put our drinks on the counter, the old man started to smile. His smile was very wide. It stretched across his face, showing many teeth. He then began to speak to us. His voice was strange, almost sing-song. He was trying to be charming, or at least personable. But his words just came off as incredibly creepy. His eyes did not match the smile on his face. They remained cold and watchful. My skin crawled under his gaze. I tried to ignore him. I forced myself to focus on the cashier. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw something else. Outside the front door, another man stood there. He wore a bright red jacket. He was just staring through the glass. He was watching us, watching the store. He seemed to be waiting. It became very obvious in that moment. These men were waiting for us. They were not just random customers or bystanders. They had a purpose. The overwhelming feeling of dread became suffocating. It was a heavy weight on my chest. I did not talk about it with my girlfriend. I dared not speak a word. My mouth felt dry. I just wanted to complete the transaction and leave. The cashier seemed oblivious to the tension. She scanned our items slowly. I paid with trembling hands. Every second felt like an hour. Finally, she handed me the receipt. I grabbed our drinks. We turned and walked quickly towards the exit. I could feel their eyes on my back. It was a physical pressure. My girlfriend and I did not speak until we were safely in the car. Even then, we whispered. The man in the red jacket was still there. He was circling the building. He watched us as the car started to move. His gaze never left us. He followed our car with his eyes. As we drove out of the parking lot, he remained staring. The city we were in has a very bad reputation. It is known for a high number of human trafficking victims. People come in and out of that city. This knowledge made the encounter even more terrifying. I honestly believe they were waiting. They were searching for the perfect victim. If I had not gone in with my girlfriend, I truly believe something terrible would have happened to her. She might have been taken, or perhaps they would have taken me from the car. The thought still sends shivers down my spine. I have never experienced such an intense looming feeling. It was a sense of doomed paranoia. My life has been full of small anxieties, but this was different. This was a direct, palpable threat. It seems like a mundane event. It was just a quick stop at a gas station, but it was definitely a very close call. We kept discussing it for the rest of the night. The conversation was filled with what-ifs. We were both incredibly lucky. We were lucky that I went in with her. We were lucky that we got out as quickly as we did. We speculated about what could have happened, what their exact plan was. The possibilities were chilling. This incident changed something in me. I became more aware of my surroundings. I now pay closer attention to my instincts. That deep gut feeling is something I will never ignore again. It felt like a silent warning. It screamed at me to act. I am thankful I listened. The image of that old man's smile stays with me. The man in the red jacket remains vivid in my mind. Their eyes, full of something cold and calculating, haunt my thoughts. It was a stark reminder of the hidden dangers in the world. A reminder that evil can lurk in the most ordinary places. A simple gas station stop. It turned into a terrifying moment. A moment that could have changed our lives forever. We now approach every gas station with caution, especially those late night stops. The memory of that night is a constant whisper in my mind. It tells me to stay vigilant, to always be aware, to protect myself and those I care about. It was a close call, too close for comfort. It was about 2 years ago, on Halloween night. My best friend Mark and I were leaving a club in downtown Dallas. The music was still ringing in my ears. We had spent hours dancing and celebrating. The night was cool and the air carried a festive chill. We were both pretty tired, but also a little bit buzzed from the drinks. As we walked, we realized we needed some snacks. We were craving something salty and greasy. We decided to stop at a gas station nearby. It was one of those brightly lit places that stood out against the dark street. We walked inside, still talking loudly and laughing. The fluorescent lights hummed above us. The aisles were filled with a dizzying array of chips and sugary drinks. I was browsing the chip aisle, trying to pick the perfect snack. Mark was looking at the candy. That is when a man approached me. He came from deeper within the store. He was average height, with dark hair. He wore a simple dark jacket. He told me I looked pretty. At this point, I was quite drunk. My judgment was impaired. I was not really worried about a single thing. I just thanked him. I smiled brightly, almost automatically. I continued looking for munchies. I did not give him another thought. He then started to follow me. He moved through the gas station aisles. He was always a few steps behind me. I noticed him, but I kind of just shrugged it off at the time. I figured he was just going in the same general direction. Or perhaps he was just browsing. I was too focused on finding the right snack. My friend and I eventually paid for our items. We had a bag full of chips and sodas. We were walking out of the gas station. The night air felt refreshing after the stale indoor air. As we exited, the man suddenly appeared behind us. He had walked down after us. He asked us where we were going. At this point, a clear thought entered my mind. It was a very simple instruction. I thought, screw off. I did not say it aloud, of course. My friend and I simply stated that we were going home. We hoped he would take the hint. He seemed to understand. He then left us alone. We continued walking down the street. Mark was planning on driving my car home. I was clearly unfit to drive. My car was parked a few blocks away. It was on a side street. We were about 3 blocks from my car. That is when we noticed something. A car was driving really slow right behind us. It was a dark sedan. It seemed to be shadowing our movements. We glanced back a few times. The street was not very busy. There were not many other cars around. That is when we realized who it was. It was the guy from the gas station. He was following us. A cold wave of fear washed over me. The alcohol-induced haze started to lift. We decided it was not a good idea. We should not lead him back to my car. That would show him where we were parked. It would give him too much information. So, we decided to turn around. We started walking a different way. We headed back towards the main street, the one where all the clubs were located. The man in the car reacted immediately. He made an illegal U-turn in the middle of the street. He continued to follow us. He stayed a slow, deliberate distance behind us. My heart began to pound. He then rolled down his window. The faint sounds of the city spilled into the car. He shouted at us. He asked if we needed a ride. His voice was calm, almost too calm. I politely said no thank you. I told him we were good. I quickly added that I thought we just made a wrong turn. I hoped this excuse would deter him. Lo and behold, he continued to follow us. He maintained the same slow speed. We picked up our pace. We started to walk faster. He sped up his car to match our speed. He called out to us again. His voice came through the passenger window now. He asked again if we wanted a ride. This time, my patience had worn thin. The fear was growing. I told him to please stop following us, sir. I warned him that I would have to call the police. My voice was firm, despite my racing heart. He then proceeded to call me a really nasty name. It was a vulgar and degrading word. After that, he sped off. His tires squealed as he accelerated. He disappeared quickly into the night traffic. We watched him go, a mix of relief and lingering terror. The immediate danger had passed, but the encounter left a lasting mark. To the weird guy from the gas station, the one who decided to follow us, I truly hope we do not encounter you again. The memory of that night is still vivid. It taught me a harsh lesson. Even in a seemingly safe environment, even when surrounded by friends, danger can appear unexpectedly. It was Halloween night, a time for harmless scares. But this was real. This was a man with unclear intentions. A man who pursued us for blocks. The thought of what he might have done. It is a chilling thought. We continued to walk quickly to my car. We kept looking over our shoulders. We did not feel safe until we were inside. Mark immediately locked the doors. We drove straight home. The festive mood of the night had completely vanished. It was replaced by a sense of unease. We talked about it for a long time. We tried to make sense of his actions. Why did he follow us? What did he want? We had no answers. Only the unsettling memory. The way he looked at us. The way he stalked us through the streets. It was a stark reminder. Not everyone out there means well, especially late at night. When you are a young woman, even when you are with a friend, vigilance is always necessary. My instincts, dulled by alcohol, had finally kicked in, and they screamed at me to get away. I am grateful that we made the right choices. We did not lead him to my car right away. We turned around. We made it clear we did not want to ride. These small decisions made in fear likely kept us safe. The incident changed my habits. I became more cautious. I stopped walking alone at night. I always make sure someone knows where I am. I check my surroundings constantly. The world feels a little less safe now. That brief encounter, it opened my eyes to a darker side of things. A side I had been fortunate enough to avoid before. It was a Halloween night I will never forget. Not for the costumes or the candy, but for the chilling pursuit and the lucky escape. It was a truly terrifying experience, one that reshaped my perception of safety. One day, about 2 years ago, I was at my house. My younger sister, Emily, was with me. Our friend, Chloe, was also visiting. We were all around 20 to 21 years old at the time. All three of us were young women. The afternoon was quiet and relaxed. We started to feel hungry. We decided that getting some sushi would be a great idea. It was a spur-of-the-moment decision. We gathered our things and headed out the door. As I was driving towards the restaurant, I noticed something concerning. My gas gauge was critically low. It was almost on empty. I knew I could not make it to the sushi place and back. I pulled off the main road. I spotted a gas station a short distance ahead. I drove towards it and pulled up to a pump. I parked the car carefully. I decided to go inside to pay for the gas. My sister and our friend waited in the car. They were chatting and listening to music. As I was walking across the parking lot, I noticed him. A man was staring at me. He had a really creepy smirk on his face. His eyes were fixed on me. They followed my every step. We made eye contact for a brief second. He then yelled across the parking lot. His voice was loud and clear. He said, "Hey, beautiful, why aren't you smiling?" I felt a chill go down my spine. I did not respond. I did not even acknowledge him. I just kept walking towards the store entrance. I wanted to get inside as quickly as possible. However, a young woman happened to witness this exchange. She was walking nearby. She turned to the man. She spoke to him firmly. She said, "Don't tell her to smile. Leave her alone. She doesn't have to do anything for you." Her words were a beacon in that unsettling moment. To this day, I still sometimes think about that woman. Her quick intervention meant a lot. I felt a surge of gratitude. I thanked her quickly as I passed her. I continued to walk into the store. I went straight to the counter. I stood patiently in line. My heart was still pounding from the encounter outside. Just as I was about to reach the front of the line, the same man walked inside. He came right over to me. He moved with alarming speed. He approached me almost instantly while I was still in line. He started to touch me. His hand reached out. He started to rub my arms. Then his hand moved to my lower back. I recoiled immediately. His touch felt repulsive. It sent a wave of disgust through me. I pulled away sharply. I spoke loudly. My voice was clear and firm. I said, "Get away from me. I don't even know you. Do not touch me or I will defend myself." Some of the other customers in the store started watching us. The cashier also looked over. I had definitely caused a scene. The man leaned in closer. He whispered in my ear. His voice was low and menacing. He told me that I needed to shut up. He said that people would think he was a creep. The irony of his words was not lost on me. Suddenly, without another word, the man ran out of the store. My eyes followed him in disbelief. He ran directly to my car. My sister and our friend were still inside it. A surge of pure adrenaline shot through me. I ran after him, my feet pounding on the floor. He reached my car first. He opened the passenger car door. My sister and Chloe were startled. They looked up, confused. He started to say something to them. His body was leaning into the car. Before he could finish his sentence, I reached him. I grabbed him from behind. I yanked him back so hard. My hand was on his shirt collar. I pulled with all my strength. He stumbled backward, out of the car. As he was off balance, I didn't hesitate. I punched him directly in the face. My fist connected with a solid thud. He staggered back even further. He held his face. He then proceeded to call me just about every other vulgar name in the book. His words were a torrent of obscenities. But he did leave us alone after that. He got into his own car. It was parked nearby. He started the engine. He then drove away at high speed. The screech of his tires echoed in the parking lot. I watched him go until his car disappeared from sight. My sister and Chloe were still shaken. They looked at me with wide eyes. We quickly got the gas pumped. We did not linger for a second longer than necessary. I am really glad that is all that happened. It could have been so much worse. The thought of him reaching my sister or friend, it sends shivers down my spine even now. This incident changed me. I am much more aware of my surroundings now. I pay attention to every detail. Every person in my vicinity, I notice their movements, their expressions. I do not let my guard down, not even for a moment. This experience taught me a valuable lesson. It taught me the importance of being assertive, of standing up for myself and others. That woman who spoke up in the parking lot, She inspired me. She showed me that you do not have to tolerate disrespect. You do not have to tolerate unwanted advances. You have the right to feel safe. You have the right to defend yourself. I think about that man, his predatory smile, his violating touch, his attempt to confront my friends. It fills me with a cold anger, but also a sense of empowerment. I stood my ground. I fought back, and we were safe. That gas station holds a dark memory for me. I avoid it now if I can. The sight of any man staring too long, it triggers a warning in my mind. My heart quickens. My senses sharpen. I am no longer a naive young woman. I am more vigilant, more cautious, more prepared. This seemingly small incident, it was a powerful turning point. A reminder that danger can appear anywhere. And sometimes, you have to fight for your safety. A fight I am now always ready for. The fear has turned into strength. The experience made me stronger and more determined to protect myself and those I love. I was around 17 or 18 years old. I was driving home from a friend's house. We had spent the entire night watching movies. It was a long, fun movie marathon. When I finally left, it was around 1 o'clock in the morning. The roads were mostly empty. It was a pretty decent drive back to my home. Not too short, not too long. I had been driving for a while. I was not quite halfway there. Then, my gas light came on. A small orange warning glowed on my dashboard. My stomach dropped a little. I had had a few creepy experiences before, mostly catcalls at gas stations. Being a young woman, especially one who was quite small, only 110 pounds, made me a target. I was a little paranoid about stopping that late, especially in the middle of nowhere. The darkness felt vast and empty around me. In the end, I knew I had no choice. I had to get gas. I believed deeply that if I had not been so cautious, something terrible would have happened. I probably would have been kidnapped. Or something much worse. The first gas station I came across was a beacon in the darkness. It was pretty well lit. It stood in a fairly open space, not surrounded by thick trees or hidden alleyways. I drove up to the pump. I turned off my engine. Before getting out, I meticulously checked all my car mirrors. I looked for any unusual activity. I saw nothing immediately. I stepped down and started to pump the gas. The nozzle clicked into place. The numbers on the screen began to climb slowly. As I was starting to pump the gas, a man came out of the gas station shop. He looked normal enough. He was wearing casual clothes. He pulled out a cigarette. He lit it and then started smoking. He did not look at me directly at first. The gas pump kept clicking off. It was not working correctly. The flow would stop, then start again. I started messing with it, trying to get it to pump properly. I wiggled the nozzle. I pressed the handle again. This guy, the smoker, started watching me. He was standing there, cigarette in hand. He then started to laugh. It was a low, private chuckle. I assumed he was just laughing to himself. Perhaps he found it amusing to watch a teenage girl struggling with a gas pump. I tried to ignore him. After getting maybe about 1/4 of a gallon, I decided to give up. The pump was clearly faulty. I knew I needed to move to a different pump. I removed the nozzle. At this point, if I would not have absolutely done everything I did next, I probably would have been in serious trouble. I would have been screwed. I got back into my car. My first action was to immediately lock my doors. It was a habit, a reflex born of caution. I was just moving to the other pump, a few feet away. I checked all of my mirrors again. This time, I was even more thorough. I looked in the side mirrors. I checked the rear view mirror. Then I got out again. I shut off my car once more. That is when I saw him, the man. He was walking up to my car. He was smiling. The smile was not friendly. It was wide, almost predatory. He was walking directly towards the driver's side window. A wave of panic washed over me. I did not want him next to my window. I did not want him that close to me. My car was still running. I quickly rolled down the passenger window instead. It was only a slight opening. He paused for a moment. He seemed surprised by my action. He then just smiled to himself. The smile deepened. He changed direction. He walked to the passenger window. He then stuck his head all the way inside my window. He leaned in, invading my personal space. He was trying to talk to me. The conversation that followed felt like a blur. His voice was too close. His presence felt too large. He started, "Hey, I know this seems really weird, but I promise I'm not a creep or anything." He continued, "My car broke down and I really need a ride home. It's just a half a mile up the road." My mind raced. Every alarm bell was ringing. I looked at him, my heart pounding. I replied, "Sorry, but I don't really know you like that." My voice was a little shaky. I tried to keep it firm. He persisted. "Oh no, I totally get it." He said, "I thought it was pretty weird as I was walking up here, but it's only a half mile up the road." I'm totally stranded. His eyes were fixed on mine. They had an intense, almost desperate look. I repeated myself. "I really wish I could help you, but again, I really don't know you." I tried to make it clear. I was not going to give him a ride. He paused again. Then he said, "Yeah, I got you. If you had a truck or something, I'd offer a ride in the back." I quickly interjected. "Sorry, no, not happening." My voice was more assertive now. Suddenly, his demeanor changed. His face twisted. He looked really pissed off. The friendly facade dropped. He yanked at my car door. He tried to open it forcefully, but I had already had it locked. I had locked it from before. The door held firm. Then he decided to reach for my inside door handle. He reached right through the small opening of the window. His fingers scrabbled at the latch. My car was still running. I slammed it into first gear. My foot hit the accelerator. I pulled out of the pump spot. The car lurched forward. As he opened the door, the car taking off slammed it shut. The momentum of the car moving through the door closed. I sped off, leaving him behind. I did not look back. My mind was reeling. I was shaking. After I got away and felt somewhat safe, I called the police. My hands were still trembling as I dialed. I explained what had happened. They said they would look into it. They checked the gas station's cameras. Their findings were chilling. Right after I left, he got into his own vehicle. It was a red SUV. He drove off, quickly disappearing. This confirmed my fears. He was not stranded. He was hunting. If I had not locked my doors that second time, if I had left them unlocked, I would have been screwed. If I had let him come to the driver's side window, he would have grabbed me. There would have been no escape. If I had shut my car off when I moved pumps, I would not have been able to drive off in time. I would have been trapped. And if I did not double check my mirrors before getting out, I would have been outside my car when he came up to me. I would have been an easy target. I am really fortunate for being so cautious. Every small, seemingly insignificant action I took, each one probably saved my life that day. The memory of his face, his sudden shift from charming to enraged, it stays with me. It is a constant reminder. A reminder to always be alert, to trust my instincts, to never let my guard down, especially when I am alone. The world can be a very dangerous place. And sometimes, your own vigilance is the only thing that can save you. It was a lesson learned through sheer terror. A lesson I will carry with me always. One day, after work, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, my friend Sarah and I decided to go see a movie. It had been a really rough shift. We both felt like a movie would be a nice escape, something to help us unwind. Sarah asked if we could stop by her house first. She wanted to change her clothes from our work uniform. I said that was fine. Her house was only about 5 minutes away, tops. We drove to her place. We stayed there for a bit. We had a quick snack to tide us over. Then we got back into my car. As we pulled out of her driveway, she asked another favor. She asked if we could stop by the gas station near her house. She wanted to grab a Red Bull. Again, I was fine with that. It was right on our way. It was convenient. I drove to the gas station. The parking lot was a bit crowded. The only parking available was on the side. It was right next to an abandoned car wash. The car wash was old and dark. To help you picture it better, the gas station and the car wash were right next to each other. Their entrances both faced the same way. The sun had completely set by this point. It was entirely dark outside. The gas station itself was fairly run down. It was not one of the newer, brightly lit ones. It did not have any lights at the gas pumps. Most modern gas stations do. So, the area around the pumps was mostly pitch black. The only light came from my car's headlights. There was a large semi-truck parked on the other side of the gas station. It was in a spot that seemed a bit out of the way. There were also some cones placed there. They indicated that the area was blocked off. It seemed to inhibit the truck driver from doing what he needed to do. I assumed the parking spots would not be too close to that area. I parked my car. Sarah got out. She went inside the gas station. I decided to stay in the car. She said she would only be a few minutes. As soon as she got out, I locked my doors. It was a force of habit for me. A small, automatic click of security. I went on my phone, scrolling through social media. After a couple of minutes, I saw a light flash. It was on the driver's side mirror of my car. My head snapped up. I turned to look. The light was pointed directly in my direction. It was the truck driver. He had a flashlight in his hand. He kind of just held it there. It was pointed right at my window for a few seconds. I was kind of freaked out by this, but I assumed he had a reason for doing so. Perhaps he needed to get my attention for something. He then began walking towards my window. The flashlight beam remained fixed on me. It was unblinking. I rolled down my window, no more than an inch. I assumed he was just going to tell me to move my car, or maybe ask a question. He stopped when he got about 2 to 3 feet away from my window. He just stood there. He still had the flashlight pointed at me. He did not say anything. Then, without a word, he just turned around. He walked back towards his truck. At this point, I was pretty scared. His actions made no sense. There was no reason for what he did. No explanation for his silent approach. So, I just rolled my window back up. I waited for my friend. My eyes remained fixed on the guy, just in case. I saw him rummage around in the front part of the semi-truck. He was there for a little bit. Then he stopped. He turned back towards my car. There was something in his hand this time. I am not sure what it was, and I am really glad I do not know. My imagination ran wild. He then began walking towards my window again. This time, he was saying something. His voice was at a rather loud volume. I could not make out the words, but the tone was aggressive. He got to my car door. He reached for the handle. He tried to open it. He kept trying to pull the handle. He tried a couple of times, but he could not open it. My locked doors held firm. Then he started to pull it a little more aggressively. He yanked at it. His body language was menacing. At that exact moment, Sarah came out of the gas station. She was walking towards my car. She looked up. She saw the man. Her eyes widened. She looked scared. I was also scared, frozen in my seat. The guy saw her. He saw her coming towards my car. He immediately stopped pulling on my door. He quickly walked back to his truck. He moved with surprising speed. I put the car in drive. I then drove away as quickly as possible. My heart was pounding. I did not dare to look back. I am not entirely sure what happened. I do not know what was going to happen. I do not know what he was trying to do. The only good theory Sarah and I had was this. Maybe he saw that I was a girl, and that I was alone in the car. He might have assumed that I would be a good target. A target to kidnap, or to hurt in some way. That is just a theory. I have no way of knowing for sure, and I am really glad that I will never have to find out what he was actually doing. The thought of it still chills me to the bone. The experience was a stark reminder. A reminder of how vulnerable one can be, especially late at night, in a poorly lit area. My habit of locking my car doors. It saved me that night. It was an automatic action. A small detail, but it made all the difference. I now pay even more attention to my surroundings. Every shadow, every movement, every stranger, the image of that flashlight, the man walking towards me in the dark. It is etched into my memory. It was a silent threat, a chilling encounter, and a very lucky escape. I am grateful for Sarah's timely appearance. Her presence likely scared him off and prevented whatever dark intentions he had from ever becoming a terrifying reality. It was a close call, one that still makes me feel a shiver, a cold, creeping fear that sometimes the world holds dangers you cannot even imagine, and sometimes you are only saved by luck and good habits. My family lives about a state away from me. At the time this happened, I had just turned 18 years old. It was a big milestone. My mom finally let me drive to go see them alone. It was about a 5.5-hour drive. No biggie, I thought. I was feeling independent and excited. I was like, bet, I can smoke and drive that easily. And I did just that. The journey was long, but mostly uneventful. I was enjoying the freedom of the open road. About halfway there, I realized I needed to stop. My gas tank was getting low. I also needed to get some snacks. As you can guess, I had the munchies. I was not really familiar with the specific gas stations on this particular drive. They were kind of spread out along the highway. As soon as I felt like it was not smart to wait any longer, I pulled off the highway. I knew I could not risk running out of gas. I have always been sort of suspicious of people in general. My childhood had not been an easy one. I grew up learning to kind of feel when things are not right. It was an intuition, a survival mechanism. So, I was not really worried about being by myself. I knew how to handle myself in tricky situations. I pulled up to this relatively empty gas station. It was a larger one. There was maybe 1 or 2 other cars parked there. This gas station also had one of those antique shops inside it. It was connected to the main convenience store. I parked at a pump. My first action was to lock my car doors. It was an automatic gesture. I then went inside. There was no one at the counter yet. A small sign on the counter read, "Be right back." So, I decided to go and pick out a snack and a drink. When I first walked in, I had noticed a man. He looked to be in his late 20s. He was just wandering around in the store. He seemed aimless. I saw him glance over at me when I walked inside, but I did not really think about it. I was not really paying him any kind of attention. I walked over to the soda cooler. I opened the door to pick out a drink. That is when he came right up next to me. He opened the cooler door right next to mine. This was not particularly weird to me on its own. People pick drinks. But the fact that he was literally all the way across the store when I came in, and then as soon as I went over there, he did too, that struck me as odd. I thought, okay, I'm going to go look for a different drink. I closed the cooler door. I went to the tea section. I stood there for a second. He followed me. He came to the aisle right next to me yet again. Only this time, he looked at me. He smiled. It was a really creepy closed-lip smile. His eyes were cold. Then he said, "Hi there." I do want to say that even though he could have easily just been trying to be nice, or maybe flirt, I had an instant creepy vibe from him. It was there from the moment he first walked over. My intuition has never failed me before. At this point, I just looked at him. I gave a quick nod of my head. I grabbed something, anything, off the shelf. I then headed straight to the counter. I thought to myself that I could just grab a different snack later. My only goal was to get away from him. He came right up behind me. He had just one of those jerky sticks in his hand. He literally did not grab anything from the refrigerators he was just looking in. Nothing from the section next to mine. He just stood super close to me. And I mean, he was literally right up behind me. I could feel his body heat. I could feel his breath on the back of my neck. It was an invasion of my personal space. I was literally just waiting for this freaking cashier to hurry up and come in here, so I could get the heck away from him. The silence from the back room was unnerving. So, I decided to start calling for someone. My voice was a little shaky. Hello? Anyone here? No one answered. No one came out from the back. The dude behind me was still texting on his phone. He was looking around. He kept glancing at the door. It was like he was waiting for someone specific. Finally, I just thought, screw it, I'm out of here. I left my drink on the counter. I just walked out of the store. He followed me. He was right behind me, just as before. At this point, I literally ran to my car. My heart was pounding in my chest. I remember feeling his hand grasp my jacket. It was a desperate, grabbing motion. But with the momentum of my arm swinging forward, he was not able to get a firm hold on me. His fingers slipped. I hopped into my car. I immediately locked the doors. I turned my car on in record speed. My foot was already on the brake. I glanced up. We made eye contact through the windshield. His eyes were wide. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something else. 2 more men. They ran from around the corner of the gas station building. They were moving fast. All 3 of them ran towards my car. My car was not very far from where the first guy was standing. I just floored it. I hit the accelerator as hard as I could. I sped out of there. I almost nearly wrecked my car on the corner of the gas station lot. I did not look back. I did not want to know if they were still coming. I do not know what they were planning on doing, but I imagine I was about to get kidnapped. The thought still makes my blood run cold. It was a coordinated effort. They were working together. I called the police as soon as I was safely on the highway. I did not know where the cashier was. I just had a really bad feeling. I worried that they had done something to them. The police said they would check it out. By the time the police got there, the men were gone. The gas station was empty. No trace of the men. No trace of the cashier. It was as if they had vanished. I now always carry a knife on me, whenever I go on that drive, or any drive for that matter. This experience changed me profoundly. My intuition, which had always been sharp, was now even more finely tuned. I became hyper-aware of my surroundings. Every glance, every movement, every person, the feeling of his breath on my neck, the grasp on my jacket. These sensations are burned into my memory. A constant reminder of how close I came to something truly horrifying. I am grateful for my quick thinking, my instinct to run, my ability to get away. It was a terrifying ordeal, one that reshaped my sense of security. The world felt like a much more dangerous place after that night. A place where predators lurk, and where you sometimes have to fight for your very freedom. I hope that cashier was okay. I hope they were safe. I often wonder about it. That gas station I avoided at all costs now. It holds too many dark memories. Memories of a chilling chase and a desperate escape. This happened just last night. I am a 21-year-old female. I was at the office later than normal. It was not excessively late, but later than my usual departure time. I left at about 6 o'clock in the evening. As I was driving, I realized I needed gas. My tank was almost empty. I decided to stop at the gas station. It was about 2 minutes away from my job. It was still pretty light out because of summer. The long daylight hours made the whole situation even weirder. I go to this gas station all the time. Nothing has ever happened before. I was pretty relaxed as I pulled in. Just tired in general from work. I pulled up to a pump. I began to fill my car. While I was pumping gas, a truck with 2 guys pulled up. They parked in front of my car. Their truck was perpendicular to my vehicle. It was a weird angle, an unusual parking job. But I just kept filling my car. My only goal was to head home as soon as possible. The 2 guys just looked like 2 normal men from the country. They were a bit older, around their 40s and 50s. But I still felt a little uncomfortable. Something about their presence felt off. The guy driving was talking softly. His voice was low. I just kind of ignored him at first. I honestly did not even realize he was trying to talk to me. I thought he was speaking to his passenger. Then the guy yelled at me. His voice was loud. It really caught me off guard. I think I said something along the lines of, can I help you? My voice was hesitant. The driver was then motioning for me to come closer. He wanted me to talk to him, which I did not do. I just felt really off about the whole thing. My instincts were screaming at me. The guy finally spoke at a normal level. His voice was clearer now. He said that they were looking for the shortest covered bridge. This was not too weird of a question, I suppose. Covered bridges are a little hard to find in this area, especially without a map or GPS. Briefly, I told the guy the directions from the gas station. I pointed in the general direction with my hand. I was grabbing my receipt from the pump. This is when all of my red flags totally went off. The driver then asked if I would lead them there. He wanted me to drive them. It was completely out of my way. I immediately said no. My voice was firm. I started to get into my car. I wanted to end the conversation. He then yelled at me again. His voice was very loud. He said that I could leave my car. I could go in their truck to direct them there, and I would not have to waste my gas. Or something like that. Just the thought of that made me really scared. My heart pounded. Getting into a stranger's truck. Leaving my car behind. It felt incredibly dangerous. I got into my car without another word. I did not respond to his offer. The truck did not move. It just sat there. I had to back out carefully. I was pretty worried about them following me. My hands gripped the steering wheel. They did follow my car out of the gas station. My heart raced. I immediately took a few random side streets. I did not drive right to the highway. I wanted to confuse them. I wanted to lose them. Oh, and also, during the whole time of this interaction, the passenger was just staring at me. His eyes were fixed on me. He did not say a word. His silence was also really creepy. The whole thing was incredibly weird. Them trying to get me in their car. It just really scared me. It felt like a trap. I ended up calling the non-emergency police line. I gave them a description of the truck. I told them about the two men, and I let them know that they had tried to get me in their vehicle. I explained the strange request, the offer to leave my car, the bizarre persistence. Either way, it is the creepiest thing I have ever experienced. I replayed in my mind the way he yelled at me to get in, the unwavering stare of the passenger. It was a clear attempt to lure me. I do not know their true intentions, but they were certainly not good. I am glad I trusted my gut. My instincts were screaming at me to say no, to get away, to not engage further. The roads were dark. The area was quiet. If I had agreed, what would have happened? The thought is chilling. I now pay much more attention to odd requests. Any deviation from normal behavior. I am more cautious around strangers, especially when I am alone. That feeling of being followed, it lingers. Even now when I drive home at night, I sometimes check my rearview mirror, just to be sure, just to feel safe. It was a very close call, a lesson in recognizing danger and acting on it quickly. I hope those men never bother anyone else. I hope the police were able to do something, even if it was just a warning, because that kind of behavior is not just weird. It is deeply unsettling and potentially very dangerous. A simple stop for gas. It turned into a terrifying moment of being targeted. A night I will always remember for the fear it instilled in me. This happened about 2 months ago. I still get chills whenever I think about it. I work in construction. My shifts are long and physically demanding. Whenever I get off work, I always like to go to the gas station. It is a habit. I pick up some snacks and a drink, a little treat after a hard day. On this particular day in question, I had gotten off work around 7 o'clock in the evening. The sun was beginning to set. The sky was a mix of orange and purple. I was heading to my local gas station. I was looking forward to getting some drinks and candy. When I walked inside the gas station, I saw a guy heading out. He was just walking out right as I was walking in. We passed each other near the door. He gave me a quick nod. I did not think anything of it. I picked out my snacks and my drink. I went to the counter. I paid for my items. The cashier gave me my receipt. I was heading to my car, eager to get home. As I was walking out, I overheard someone calling out. They were calling someone. I decided to turn around. The worker at the gas station was standing outside. He was looking directly at me. He then said, "Hey, you didn't pay for those items." My heart sank. I was completely confused. I stopped in my tracks. I looked at him, bewildered. I said, "What are you talking about? I literally just paid for them." He persisted. "Get over here and pay, or else I'm going to call the cops and get them to arrest you." His voice was firm. It held an edge of threat. I replied back, "No, I literally just paid for these, like I just told you." My voice was rising with frustration and a hint of fear. I noticed something strange while he was saying all of this. He was pointing at my car. He was kind of hinting at something. His gaze kept flicking towards my vehicle. Then he started waving for me to come towards him. He was gesturing urgently. I decided to walk up to him. He then walked me inside the store. Once we got inside, he told me something absolutely chilling. His voice dropped to a whisper. He said, "There's someone inside of your car." My eyes widened. He continued, "When you were paying, I noticed on the cameras that someone was walking into your car with a knife in their hand." My blood ran cold. I was absolutely shocked and totally confused. A knife? In my car? This did not make any sense. I had just walked away from it. When I went to look at my car through the window, my back door was wide open. It was gaping. My mind raced. Someone had been there. Someone had entered my car. I ran right up to it. My heart was pounding. I checked inside. There was no one inside now. They were gone. I did not bother to call 911. I did not want to file a report. I did not want to go through all of that paperwork. The questioning. The investigation. I just wanted to forget about it. I do not know what happened to the guy that was going to get in my car, or what he was planning to do. But to this day, I am really grateful to that worker. He possibly saved my life. His quick thinking, his unusual approach. It prevented something terrible. He knew he could not confront the person directly. He knew I might not listen if he just shouted. So he created a diversion, a reason for me to come back inside and away from the danger. The memory of that open door. It haunts me. The image of someone with a knife entering my car. It is a chilling thought. A stark reminder of the dangers that lurk unseen. I now make it a rule to always lock my car doors. Even if I'm just stepping away for a second. Even in broad daylight. It is a small habit, but it can make all the difference. That gas station worker, he was truly an unsung hero. He went above and beyond. He put himself at risk, all to protect a stranger. I often wonder if he ever got recognized for his actions. I hope he did. He deserves it. The world needs more people like him. Vigilant, observant, and brave enough to act. My life was almost changed forever because of a brief stop for snacks. I am incredibly lucky and forever thankful. The chill of that day stays with me. A reminder to never, ever be complacent. To always be aware of my surroundings. And to lock those doors. This story takes place a long time ago. It was a frigid December night in the year 2007. I had gone to a friend's Christmas party. The party had been lively, but now it was late. I was heading back to my apartment. On the way back, there was some construction. It was blocking the exit to the freeway I needed to take home. This was before the days when GPS navigators and maps were pretty common on phones. We relied on paper maps or asking for directions. I decided to stop at a nearby gas station. My plan was to ask the clerk for directions. I needed to find the next exit so I could get onto the freeway. As I was walking into the store, a young woman appeared. She seemed to come out of nowhere. She started walking towards me. Just the sight of her put me on edge. There was something off about her. She was wearing a really ripped up black hoodie. Right underneath, She had a thick windbreaker. Her pants were baggy cargo pants. Her clothes seemed out of place for the cold night. And for the season, I instinctively turned away. I started walking faster. I hoped I could get into the store. I wanted to just avoid her entirely. She called out, "Hey, wait." Her voice was a little rough. I pretended that I could not hear her. I kept walking at the same increased pace, but then she shouted out again. This time, her voice was quite loud. "Wait up." She waved her arms around. At this point, I could not really ignore her anymore. So, I apprehensively turned to face her. Now that she was closer, I could see her face a little more clearly. She had a massive amount of makeup on. It did not conceal her sunken, red eyes. Her eyes looked tired and inflamed. I'm not going to lie, her face was quite attractive. But somehow, I do not know. That just made her all the more unsettling to me. The contrast between her beauty and her disheveled appearance, it was disturbing. Before she even started talking to me, I just knew this was going to be trouble. "So, what do you want?" I said to her. My voice was wary. She replied, "Yeah, so I know I don't know you, but could you do me a huge favor?" Her tone was overly sweet. She continued, "My car won't start, and I think the battery's dead. Can you jumpstart my car? It's right over there." The lady pointed to a vehicle. It was parked on the other side of the lot. It was a dark, older model car. No, sorry. I don't have any jumper cables in my car." I told her. It was the truth. My car was not equipped with them. She smiled. "I think they sell those things here in the gas station. Why don't you buy some and then you can help me?" Her smile was a little too wide. I could tell that she was trying to be flirty with me. It felt forced and insincere. "I'm sorry, but I can't help you," I told her. I tried to make my voice final. I started walking away. I hoped she would get the hint. Instead, she grabbed my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. She pulled herself closer to me. "Come on, a hot guy like you can't help me out," she purred. "You seem really cool. What's your name?" "I'm Tiffany." She put her arm around my waist. She tried to cuddle up to me. I could smell it, a strong cigarette stench. It was mixed with a sickly sweet perfume. It came off of her in waves. Now, as a young single guy in his early 20s, normally, I would welcome an attractive young woman coming on to me. And I will admit, I was pretty tempted by her physical appeal. But there was something really shady about this whole situation. My gut screamed at me. I pushed her arm off me firmly. "Look, I can't help you. Ask someone else." I decided immediately. I really needed to get away from this girl. I started walking back to my car. I figured I would just drive somewhere else. I would find another gas station. I would ask for directions there. Of course, she followed me. "Hey, come on, don't walk away." She whined. "Where's your Christmas spirit? I really want to get to know you. Come back to my car." She said that. She once again grabbed my arm. Her fingers dug into my flesh. I shook her off with more force this time. I just kept walking. I reached my car. I opened the driver's side door quickly. She walked to the passenger side. She literally tried to open it. Her hand fumbled with the handle. It was locked. "Look, I told you, I can't help you," I shouted at her. My voice was tinged with desperation. I got into my car. I slammed the door shut. I turned on the engine. She ran over to the driver's side. She started knocking on the glass, hard. I wanted to drive away immediately, but she had positioned herself in such a way I might risk hitting her if I pulled out of the parking space. I slightly rolled down my window, just a crack. I told her, "Look, for the last time, I'm not gonna help you. Get the hell away from my car and take a hike." Her demeanor instantly changed. It transformed from fun and flirty to angry and hostile. Her face contorted into a snarl. She then shouted back at me, "You freaking loser. Like I'd ever even let you touch me anyways. Screw you." She kicked my car door, hard. The sound echoed in the quiet lot. Then she ran back to her car. I was really kind of shocked as to what she had done. The sudden violence. The complete shift in personality. I was ready to get out of the car. I wanted to call the police on her. But to my horror, when I looked over, I saw something else. I saw her climb into the passenger seat of her car. Then, another man emerged from the shadows. He had been hidden before. He then climbed into the driver's seat. He was carrying something in his hand. It looked like an ice scraper. My heart started pounding against my ribs. I then heard the other car's engine fire up. It roared to life. She had been lying. Her car was not unable to start. I fearfully realized that there was no time to call the cops now. I had to get out of here. Right now. I pulled out of that gas station faster than I have ever pulled out of anywhere in my life. My tires squealed as I peeled out into the road. I could see the other car. It pulled out after me. I watched them in my rearview mirror. Thus began what would then become the most dangerous few minutes of driving in my life. I then started driving as fast as I could. I sped away from the other car. They stayed in pursuit of me. Their headlights glared in my mirror. They were honking their horn. They were trying to catch up to me. I took just about every turn that I could. I wove around a few cars. I came up to a stoplight. It was just about to turn red. I saw my opportunity. I slowed down a bit. The light turned red. I waited a couple of seconds. Then I gunned it. I drove right through the red light. Getting a few horns honked at me from the oncoming traffic, but I did not care at this point. My only thought was escape. I looked in my rearview mirror again. I could see the other car slam its brakes. They were stuck at the red light. I then drove away as quickly as possible. I pulled into a nearby subdivision. It was a maze of quiet streets. I took a few turns. I drove deep into the neighborhood, parking near a dark house. I turned off my lights and finally took a few minutes to breathe. My heart was pounding a mile a minute. My entire body was trembling. I could hardly sit still. I waited a few minutes. I tried to calm my nerves. Finally, I started driving back out the way I came. When I got on the main road, there were no signs of the car. It looked like I had lost them. I eventually drove down to a different gas station. It was much further away. I asked for directions there. I also told the clerk about the incident. I explained that there was a crazy couple on the loose. They were trying to lure people into a trap. They claimed their car battery was dead, but he did not seem all that interested. I cannot really blame him though. I did not really have a lot of info to give. I never got a good look at the car or its license plate. I safely made it back to my apartment. When I got out of my car, I looked at my driver's side door. Thankfully, the dent that girl made with her kick was not too bad. It was not too much damage. Over a decade later, that story is still one of the scariest things. One of the most terrifying things that has ever happened to me. I will never forget the look of pure malice. The look the girl gave me when she then shouted at me and kicked my door. My guess is that she was a junkie of some kind, or perhaps involved in something worse. I do not really know. I have no idea who that other guy was, or what they intended on doing to me. I sometimes think to myself, what would have happened to me if I let her seduce me into that trap? That very thought chills me to this day. So to all you guys out there, do not let the head between your legs do the thinking. For the head between your shoulders, especially if she is aggressively coming on to you for no good reason at all. Also, to Tiffany, and I really doubt that is your real name, you can rot in hell. You and that scumbag guy you were with. It has been nearly 13 years, but I still really hope to never see either of you ever again. The memory of that night is a constant reminder, a vivid, chilling lesson about trusting your gut and escaping danger. A young white man came into my window at the gas station where I work. He looked to be about 25 years old. It was late, around 3 in the morning. He was dressed very well. He wore a new red Nike sweater, new Nike shoes, and a new baseball cap. He was also freshly shaven. He looked well put together. I approached the window. He asked me about a particular energy drink. It was a brand we do not really carry, so nothing too weird quite yet. It was a normal question. When I tell him we do not have it, he looks super dejected. His face falls. He kind of just stands there for about 2 minutes, without saying anything. He just stares off into the distance. I am a pretty patient person. I deal with a lot of weird people pretty often. It is part of the job, so I just silently wait. I give him space. The young guy then asked me, "What should I do?" His voice was soft, almost a whisper. I replied, about what?" I was confused by the vague question. He then starts to tell me about how he has not eaten in like 2 days. He asked what he should do about that. This is typically a point where people ask for free stuff or expect charity. I said, "Well, you could buy some food. Do you have any money?" I tried to be helpful. He says, I have $2, but I really want an energy drink." He seemed torn between food and caffeine. We kind of go back and forth for about a minute. I tried to explain the importance of food, to suggest healthier options, until I tell him he should probably go to the local shelter. I explained that they would give him some free food there. This is obviously not what he wanted to hear. He wanted the energy drink, and without another word, he just runs off. He just sprints away from the window. I think, man, that's super weird. Then I go back to cleaning the store. I wipe down the counters. I restock the shelves. About an hour later, the guy returns. He walks back to the window. When he comes back, it seems that whatever he took had hit him pretty hard. He looked different. His movements were a little jerky. A car had followed him. A lady in the car was speaking very loudly to him. Though I cannot really understand what she is saying, she is shouting. He is smiling and nodding at her. Then he turns as she drives off. He then yet again approaches the window. He has a really huge smile on his face. His eyes are wide. I ask him what I can get him. He replies, "Your eyes, they're green. Did you know that's a very rare gene to have?" I kinda just nod and smile. My eye color seems to attract a lot of comments anyway, and I know better than to press weird conversations at 3 o'clock in the morning. It is a long night. He continues, his voice hushed and reverent. "It means you have light in your soul, rainbow light inside of you. Your name contains the name of Wrath from the sun god in Egyptian culture. You're a part of creation and the universe." I frown. I do not say anything back to him. I am wearing a name tag. It always seems to elicit weird comments. He is clearly reading my name and creating some elaborate story around it. He continues, undeterred by my silence. "I have a very special $2 bill and 3/4 that if invested correctly will be worth a lot of money." He says, "I'll pay with these. You need to keep them and then use them to make money." He then proceeds to put 3/4, a $2 bill, and a pine cone in my box. The pine cone was what truly threw me off. I kind of think to myself how strange it is that he assumes I will be able to do anything with the money, when it is the gas station's money, not mine. Also, that he put a freaking pine cone in the box. It was just so bizarre. I asked him, "What do you want to buy?" I explained that he could buy a water, some chocolate, and a tea with the amount he had given me, which also fixes his issue of wanting to eat, get caffeine, and stay hydrated. He seemed to consider my suggestions. He then agrees with them. He seems really grateful to me as I get his items. All the while, he is smiling very brightly at me through the window. His smile is wide, almost unsettling. I am thoroughly stressed out by the unwanted eye contact the entire time. While I am cashing out the transactions, he just stares. He watches my every move. He takes his items and change. He runs to the gas pumps. He starts staring at the ceiling of the pumps. He gazes upwards, as if seeing something I cannot. This goes on for a good 3 minutes or so. He just stands there, looking up. Then he turns around. He comes back to the window. I give him his items and change. And once again, he starts telling me about the love and light in the universe. It is a torrent of spiritual pronouncements. He then asked me why I gave him the coins back. I also want to add, it was not the same coins he gave me. I was literally just giving him his proper change back. I explained to him that I cannot keep them. It is against company policy to keep the customer's change. He just blinks at me. He seems confused. Then he decides to bolt. He runs in the direction of the highway. The highway is right in front of my work. He runs with his items in his hand. He disappears right into the darkness. He just vanished from sight. Definitely one of the weirdest and creepiest encounters I've had yet. I think about him often. His strange words, the pine cone, the intensity of his gaze. Was he high? Mentally ill? Or something else entirely? I do not know, and I do not think I want to know. It was a bizarre, unsettling night, a testament to the strange things you encounter working alone, in the dead of night, at a gas station. This happened to me just last Christmas. The air was crisp. The city lights were twinkling with festive cheer. For Christmas, I had 3 different house parties to go to. My family's gathering, my best friend's celebration, and my boyfriend's family party. I decided to split my time so that I could see everyone. Because of this, I really wanted to get really dressed up. I put on my best makeup. I was aiming for a glamorous look. I guess you can say I am fairly attractive. And I guess the makeup and pretty dress overdid it. They drew unwanted attention. I first spent the day with my family. It was warm and familiar. Then I moved on to my best friend's house party. Her family is a lot like my family. We had a really great time. Laughter filled the house. I actually stayed there a lot longer than I should have. I ended up leaving right as it was getting dark. The sky turned from a hazy blue to deep indigo. Now, I was off to my boyfriend's family's party. As I was driving there, I noticed something. My gas tank was nearly empty. I needed gas. I was really trying to decide if I should get gas now. It would make me even later for the party. But I knew I would be leaving his house pretty damn late. I did not want to be getting gas by myself at midnight or something like that. The thought of being alone at a gas station in the dead of night, it was unappealing. I normally do not really like going to that particular gas station. I've been catcalled there plenty of times before. It is a known spot for unwanted attention. But it was on my route, so I pulled in, and what do you know? I pulled into the end pump. First thing I hear, right when I get out of my car, is a voice. "Hey, sexy. You got a really nice body." Some guy was calling out to me. From the window of his car. It was instant. It was crude. I kind of just did the half-smile, awkward thing. It was my usual reaction to such comments. This was mere seconds after getting out of my car. I am there, standing at the pump. For whatever dang reason, it is not working. It just keeps saying that it is not reading my card, and that there is some kind of issue with it. I tried my card again, and again, but I just kept trying it. Because I just wanted to get the hell out of there. I wanted to fill up and escape. During this whole struggle, I got catcalled 2 more times. By guys hanging out of their car windows, or from passing vehicles. I was really starting to freak out at this point. The feeling of being watched, the constant stream of vulgar comments. It was overwhelming. Then some junk car pulls up. It pulls up at the pump right next to me. This was a serious junk car. It was barely held together, like it did not even have a whole door. One side of the car was missing a door. It looked like it had some sort of bungee cord that was holding it together. The car was rattling. It was making strange noises. I got a bad vibe from it. A strong sense of unease. I decided to go inside. I would pay for my gas with the teller. I turned to walk to the store. The guy that was driving the junk car then gets out. He's going inside as well. But I feel like he's getting way too close to me. He's walking just a little too fast. So, once I get to the door, I open it. I let him go first. Like I was holding the door for him. I just did not want him to be behind me in the store. He starts saying how sweet I am. His voice was too smooth. His words felt insincere. It was just getting really creepy. He looked like he did really hard drugs. His face was gaunt. His eyes were sunken. Just the way he was staring at me. His gaze was intense. It really made my stomach turn. He looked like he was around my age too, which was 21 in case I did not mention it. I was waiting in line inside the gas station. I was getting lingering stares from other customers. but that did not really bother me. Not as much as the cat calls. Once I finally get to the cashier, he then says, "Oh, I can't give you gas." I looked at him, surprised. My brow furrowed. I'm like, why the hell not? And then he starts making some excuse. He said something about why he could not sell to Bronco fans. My purse was a Broncos purse. It was clearly visible. I'm just like, dude, I'm trying to get the hell out of here. Hurry up. My patience was wearing thin. My fear was growing. I gave him my dirtiest look, a look that was clearly enough for him to start ringing me up. He reluctantly began the transaction, but he then starts trying to talk to me about random crap, stuff that I do not even care about enough to remember now. He was deliberately slowing down the process. As I'm walking to my car, I think I get catcalled again, by what is now like the sixth guy to bother me. It was relentless. Now here is where I get the most scared. The junkie car guy was right behind me. He was walking out of the station. He walks up to his car. He's probably there for about a minute. He seemed to be waiting. I am finally pumping gas now. I had managed to get the pump to work, when I then hear the car door to that junk car close. The junk car guy and a second guy then gets out with him. Now the second guy looks so much more scary than him. He was bigger, more intimidating, and he then just starts staring at me. His gaze was unwavering. He's being really creepy. He's looking me up and down. My heart is literally pounding right now, just remembering this part of the story. He starts walking up to me. He's rounding the pump. He's coming closer. When I then hear some guy behind me calling me from his van. Van guy is still saying some really perverted things to me. As he rounds the corner, he then crashes right into a Mustang. Head on. The sound was a loud, sickening crunch. Junk car guy number 2 literally jumps back at the noise. He was startled by the collision. I take about a second to process what the hell just happened. The shock of the crash. Then I stop the gas. My hand pulls the nozzle out. I jump in my car as fast as possible. My heart is in my throat. Then I reverse the hell out of there. My tires squealed. The 2 really creepy junk car guys are like screaming in laughter now. They are telling me to look at what I did. They are literally laughing. "You just made him crash. Look what you did." Their laughter was maniacal. I reversed the hell out of there, like they do in the movies, fast and desperate. I literally had to stop the gas at like $4. I did not want to stay there even for a second longer. I did not care about a full tank. My only thought was escape. I do not even know how to explain how I felt. It was like I was shaking and crying, and also laughing at the same time, a mix of terror and hysterical relief. I actually had to scream in my car, just to get rid of this overwhelming feeling. The thing that shocked me the most was that the gas station was packed. There were so many people around, but that they had no shame to catcall me like that, to bother me so openly. This area I was in does not even have a lot of crime. It is usually quiet. I really do not understand how this even happened in the first place. I called my dad right away. I could not even tell the story clearly. I was just laughing like a maniac, because it just felt so surreal, so unbelievable. After that happened, my boyfriend always goes with me now to get the gas. If he knows that I am getting gas close to him, he will always drive to the parking lot. He will make sure I am okay. I have never gone back to that gas station again, nor have I worn that dress. The memory is too strong. The fear is too deep. It was a night of escalating terror. From the initial catcalls, to the broken down car, the creepy men, the strange cashier, and the final chaotic escape. A Christmas memory I will never forget. For all the wrong reasons. It taught me a hard lesson about vulnerability and the unpredictable nature of danger. At the time, I was 19 years old. My current age is 23. At that time, I worked at a dog facility. It was a good job. I loved the animals. Murphy's was the closest gas station to my work. It was convenient for me. I was driving a really old truck at the time. It was a sturdy vehicle, but it had its quirks. You could not entirely trust the gas gauge on those older trucks. It would sometimes fluctuate. So, I made sure to fill up often. I pulled into the gas station. I put in my card. I started pumping my fuel. My hands were on the nozzle. I was just focused on the task. When this really tall man came around my truck, he seemed to appear out of nowhere. He then started talking to me, which is totally fine. I am used to people asking questions, but he just came out of nowhere. He was very large. Well, he proceeded to take the nozzle right out of my hand. His fingers brushed against mine. He then started pumping my gas for me, which in my opinion was kind of odd to me. It was an uninvited gesture. I was perfectly capable of doing it myself. He then went on to ask me what I was doing. He asked why I was pumping my own gas. He looked genuinely curious. I proceeded to tell him kindly that I was an adult, and I do not really need anyone to do it for me. My tone was polite, but firm. I wanted to establish boundaries. Well then, he asked if I had a boyfriend. My heart skipped a beat. This question felt too personal, too invasive. I said that I do, which I was totally screaming in my head. How bad that I wished he was there. I wished he was standing right next to me. He then looked around. He scanned the empty parking lot. He said, "Well, where's he at? I don't see him here." At this point, I was starting to mentally freak out. The situation was escalating. I was alone. I tried to keep my voice steady. I said, "Sir, just because we're young, that doesn't mean we don't have to work every day just like you." I continued, "My boyfriend can't be with me 24/7 because we're both really busy trying to afford a place to live. I hope this explanation would satisfy him." The man stopped pumping my gas at that point. He paused for a moment. Then he said, "You're right. Well, have a good day. I really can't wait to bump into you again." The last part of his statement, "I really can't wait to bump into you again," it sent a shiver down my spine. It felt like a veiled threat, a promise of future unwanted encounters. I then finished pumping my gas. My hands were trembling slightly. I got the hell out of there as quickly as I could. I did not look back. I did not want to see him. I always carry 2 knives on me at all times now. One in my pocket, one in my bag, and I have a knife in my trunk as well. It is for self-defense. I just want to add that I do understand being a gentleman, wanting to help someone out, but putting your hand on the nozzle to my pump, while my hand was already there, that is just not cool. It is an overstep. Always ask first. And if they say it is okay, then fine. But do not just do it, and then try and leave. When they explain why their boyfriend is not around all the time, his actions were inappropriate. His words were unsettling. So yeah, that was a little creepy for me. I have not seen him since, but I also do not drive that same truck anymore. I have a newer, more reliable vehicle, but I always have someone with me. Whenever I go to that gas station now, I do not go alone. Not anymore. The memory of that encounter, it stays with me. It is a reminder of how quickly a seemingly harmless situation can turn unnerving, how easily personal boundaries can be crossed, and how important it is to be prepared for the unexpected. It was a small incident, but it left a lasting impact on my sense of safety. I learned to be even more cautious, more vigilant, and to always trust my gut. When something feels off, it probably is. I am a 40-year-old man. About 2 years ago or so, I had left my house. My purpose was to go pick up my wife from work. She had got off work at 11 o'clock at night. I had headed out a little earlier. This was so that I could stop at a Circle K, maybe grab a snack and a drink for the drive. The night was dark and quiet. The air was cool. Right as I was walking out the door of the store, I saw a car. It was coming around the corner of the building. It seemed to be moving too fast. It tried to fit in between the building and another parked car. It is kind of hard to explain the exact layout of the parking lot, but there was no way he was getting his car through that really tight space. Or so I thought. I stopped, watching in disbelief. Right then, the guy floored it. He accelerated. He went right in between the car and the building, scraping both at the same time. The sound was a horrific shriek of metal. It put a huge dent in the whole side of the parked car. The side mirror flew off with a snap. The window broke on that side. Shattered glass sprayed outwards. The car then got through the impossibly tight space, and it took off down the road. I was not really sure what to do. My mind was reeling from the chaos. But right at that moment, the owner of the damaged car came out of the store. He had heard the crash, no doubt, and I had seen his car, the one that was now mangled. I called out to him. My voice was loud in the quiet night. "Hey man, someone just drove in between your car and the building, and it looks like they really messed it up." The guy looked at his car, his face twisted with rage. He then starts to yell at me. He was screaming. He was asking if I got the license plate number. I had not. I was just so awestruck that this was happening, that someone would do something so reckless. I did not really think about getting the plate in the moment. I was just trying to process the scene. He then starts telling me about how he is going to go after the car and then kill the person. His words were full of violent intent. His voice was shaking with anger. Right at that point, he was really furious. He was totally flipping out. After he said he was going to go kill them, he actually pulled out a gun. From his waistband, it was a small revolver. It looked like a .38 special. I have some experience with guns. I know that that gun is one you do not want to get shot at with close range. It can do serious damage. My heart then sank right into my stomach, a cold, hard lump of fear. I thought to myself, is this guy going to shoot me? I mean, I was just a messenger. I had tried to help him, and I thought I was doing the right thing here. He then starts waving the gun around. His hand was unsteady. His eyes were wild. I could tell that it was loaded. The cylinder was full. He then pointed it at me as he was waving it around. He was still screaming. He was yelling that he does not take crap from anyone and how he will kill anyone. My blood ran cold. I knew that I had to get out of there as soon as possible. My car was about 50 feet away. It felt like a mile. I told him that I was really sorry that this happened and what happened to his car. I spoke calmly and I turned away. I started walking towards my car. My back was to him. I was absolutely terrified the entire time. I thought he was going to shoot me in the back, or something even worse. Every step felt like a gamble. Luckily, I was able to get into my car. My hands fumbled with the keys. I quickly started the engine. I immediately called 911. They told me they had an officer right there, like literally less than a block away. This gave me a surge of hope. The officer ended up showing up in moments. He drew his weapon on the guy. He got him to drop the gun and get on the ground. I was so relieved. A wave of calm washed over me. I really thought that I was doing a good deed here, trying to help someone. I did see the model and color of the car, just not the license plate. And that is what I was going to tell him. But his reaction, his extreme anger, it changed everything. Well, I definitely learned a lesson that day. In any kind of situation like that, I am just going to mind my own business. It is not worth putting myself in danger, even if I'm trying to help. The threat of that gun, the look in his eyes, it was a terrifying experience, a complete overreaction, but one that could have cost me my life. I am grateful for the police response, for their quick arrival. They diffused a very dangerous situation. I will think twice before intervening again. Sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. Just observe and call for help from a safe distance. This incident changed my perspective on public interactions. A simple act of kindness. It turned into a life-threatening encounter. I will never forget that man's rage or the cold steel of his gun. About a year ago, I was at this gas station with my mom and sister. it was a typical evening. We were going inside to get some treats. My sister loves candy. It was starting to get kind of late. The streetlights had come on. It was roughly about 11 o'clock at night at this point. When we got to the gas station, my mom and sister went inside. I decided to stay in the car. I did not really feel like going in at the time. I was a bit tired. It was not going to take them long anyways. So, I thought listening to some music in the car alone would be pretty nice. I leaned back in my seat. I closed my eyes for a moment. A minute or two goes by. As I was checking my phone, a car pulls up. It pulls up right next to the one I am in. It was a dark sedan. Right off the bat, I suspected it was a little sketchy. The stereo was blasting. It was super loud. The bass vibrated through my car. I looked out my window. I saw someone inside the car. They were just sitting there. I just went back to looking at my phone, since they were not really doing anything overtly strange. A few seconds later, and the person gets out of their car. I look out my window again. I pretty much just watch as they circle around their vehicle. They walk slowly. They examine the car. At this point, I was a little confused about what they were doing. But again, I decided to just mind my own business and look at my phone. Every few seconds that I would look out my window, I would see them sticking around. They were not going inside the store. They were not getting gas. They were just circling their car. I was getting kind of nervous. Something about it, kind of being late at night and having no one else around, it was really giving me a creepy vibe. The lot was almost empty. The silence, save for his music, was heavy. Eventually, my mom and sister walked out of the store. They were carrying their treats. I was getting ready to get out of the car quickly, in case this guy decided to pull something on them. I wanted to be there, to intervene if needed. Luckily, my mom and sister made it back to the car. They handed me the treats they got. Once my mom started the car though, the guy walked over to my sister's window. He was trying to talk to us. His face was close to the glass. My mom did not roll down the window though. We could hear him pretty well from the outside. His voice was muffled but audible. I do not really remember what he was saying. The words seemed slurred, but he was starting to sound really angry. His tone escalated right after my mom told him no about something. He then started banging on the window, super hard. The glass shook. He started yelling at us. His face was contorted. At this point, I was pretty much just shouting at my mom. Just drive out of there. My voice was frantic. She started to drive, but as we pulled out of the parking space, the guy got into his own car and then started it up. He was quick. My mom had started driving super fast. She pressed the accelerator, but the guy seemed to be following us. He was right behind us. As we drove into the main road, it then became apparent he actually was following us. His headlights were fixed on our car. We were all panicking at this point. My mom decided not to go to our house directly. Instead, she made a bunch of odd turns. She took unexpected routes in order to lose him, in case things escalated. My sister had also dialed 911 on her phone. Her hands were shaking. After a few more random turns and driving around various streets, we did end up losing the guy. His car finally disappeared from our rearview mirror. This was easily one of the scariest moments in my whole life. If you are ever at a gas station really late at night, please be careful. This experience taught me to be constantly vigilant, to never assume safety, even in what seems like an ordinary place. The image of him banging on the window, the sound of his yelling, it is burned into my memory. The fear of being pursued, it was a tangible thing. A cold, heavy weight. My mom's quick thinking. My sister's call to emergency services. Our collective action saved us. It was a terrifying chase, one that left us all shaken, but ultimately safe. That night, I learned that danger can emerge from anywhere, and that sometimes the only way out is to run, to drive as fast as you can, and to rely on those you trust. It was a powerful lesson, a lesson in fear and survival. This happened to me about a month ago, but I still cannot get over it. Not because I was a victim, but rather, I was the one who witnessed a horrible event. And I still really blame myself that I could not do anything back then. The memory replays in my mind, the helplessness. Ever since that day, I always make sure to grab my phone and take it with me everywhere, because you just really never know what might happen in the future, and you might be able to get evidence with a photo or video, something to help. Anyway, let us begin on the story. It was a summer evening. The air was warm and still. As per usual, I was taking a walk with my small dog. We walked on the nearby parks and streets. At the time, all I had with me were my keys. Nothing else. So, take note of that, because this will be relevant later. With that being said though, I and my dog then went outside. But instead of taking our usual routes, I decided to take another one, which led to a park-like area with 2 churches there. There was also a gas station, as well as a tramway just up ahead. The evening was peaceful. Just when I was nearby a tramway, I then switched the route. I headed towards the gas station in order to get to another small park that is actually located on the other side of the road. And that is when I then heard cries or screams of a young woman. Her voice was filled with pain. I could not make out exactly what she was screaming. Her words were muffled, but the only things I could make out were something along the lines of, "That hurts so much," and something about a knife. My heart began to pound. I quickened my pace. Just when I was about 4 to 5 meters away from a car, which was in the parking lot, right next to the gas station's territory, there was a young couple there. And that is where I heard the screams coming from. The boyfriend of the girl, literally right before my eyes, threw her out of the car. Her body hit the pavement and then started to beat her with his fists and legs. And no, this was not just a mere slap. He was hitting and beating her with brute force. His blows were powerful. The guy even threw her against the side of the car, like she was some kind of rag doll. Her body slammed against the metal. I pretty much just froze in shock and fear. For a brief moment, my mind went blank. The next thing I tried to do was just tell him to stop. My voice was weak, but he just briefly looked at me. His eyes were cold, and he just kept hitting on the girl. Now, there were multiple reasons why I could not just run to him and try and stop him myself. 1. I myself am a pretty physically weak girl. I knew I would be no match for him. Plus, I also had a really small dog on a leash. I could not risk the dog. Not to mention, I did not have anything with me that I could defend myself with. No phone, no weapon. Now, since the guy did not pay much attention to me, he seemed to dismiss my presence. I decided to grab my dog and run to the gas station to look for help. My feet pounded on the ground. I ran to one of the employees. He was checking out a customer outside. I then pleaded for help, saying that the girl was being beaten. I even led him to the parking lot. I pointed towards the car. The answers of that employee made my heart sink. He pretty much shrugged it off and said something along the lines of, "Well, they're probably a couple. It's their own business." My jaw dropped. Family business or not, that's not an excuse to beat the crap out of someone. What if she would have been killed? My voice was filled with disbelief. I have had my own experiences with family violence, and trust me, it is not a normal thing, and it should not be ignored or treated like it is nothing serious. At the time, when I was in shock after the response of the employee, the car then attempted to drive away. It started to move slowly, and just at that time, the front right door of the car then opened up. The girl was just sitting there, even though the car was still on the move. It seemed like she was about to jump off. She was trying to escape. Once again, I tried to open the employee's eyes on what was happening. But once again, he just shrugged it off with the same excuse. It's their business. The other customers of the gas station also did not do a thing. They just asked what was wrong and just kept doing their own things. They just watched. And just when I was about to memorize the car's plate number and try and make a call to the police from the station shop, the car was already long gone. It vanished within the traffic of the street, and that is why I feel guilty. I keep blaming myself that I should have at least tried to pull the guy off the girl. Maybe I should have memorized the numbers of the plate and just went straight into the gas station shop in order to call the police. But instead, like the coward I was, I gave in to my hopes that I could ask the locals for help. After this situation, I am even more disappointed in humanity than I already was. The indifference, the refusal to intervene. It was horrifying. From now on, I will always take my phone with me, because if there is ever a next time, I will make damn sure to get the evidence of it, and also call the cops. Before something terrible happens, I will not be helpless again. I will not stand by. This memory is a heavy burden, a constant reminder of a terrible injustice, and a moment where I wish I had been braver, stronger, more prepared. It changed me forever. When I was younger, every year for Christmas, I would always drive upstate. I went to my aunt's house. It was a long journey, along a stretch of highway. I cannot for the life of me, though, remember the name of this road. All I know is that it runs nearby Akron in New York. At some point, however, most of the drive is through rural areas. There are little to no towns nearby, just endless fields and dense woods, so it was the dead of night. My really groggy self had gotten off of a long shift. I was exhausted. I had to drag my ass to my aunt's house, since my extended family was expecting me the following morning. I was on a tight schedule. Near halfway through the drive, I realized something. I was really low on gas. The gauge was almost on empty, which really irritated me. My brother had told me that he filled it up the day before, so he either forgot, or he was straight up lying about it. I saw an arcade-looking sign for a gas station. It was off the next road. It was not an official road sign, though. It was literally a pole with a slab of metal attached to it, with gas off next exit or something along those lines painted on it. I mean, that seemed a little sketchy, but people do the same thing with fruit stands on the highways. So, whatever, I told myself. I pulled off the next exit. It led onto some dilapidated country-ass road. The road was rough and bumpy. It wound through the dense woods. The trees were thick. They blocked out the moonlight. The whole thing was just really creepy and surreal. I kept expecting Leatherface to come out running from out of the trees. With a freaking chainsaw, the darkness was consuming. Anyway, I eventually came to the gas station, and I realized quickly that it had not been open for years. It was all rusted. The convenience store's roof was caving in. The windows were broken. The gas pumps had all been taken out as well. Just empty concrete slabs. I pulled over next to it. My car's headlights cut through the darkness. I checked my gauge again. I would probably only make it for another half mile before running out completely. So, I called Triple that said they would send a truck over. Now I played the waiting game. My heart was a little uneasy. I decided to leave my engine on, because when the headlights were off, literally, everything was pitch black. And my paranoid self definitely was not sitting next to an abandoned gas station, in the middle of a forest, in complete darkness. Hell no. So, most of the way, it actually went uneventful. I was scrolling on my phone, trying to distract myself. That is until I then sensed movement around the side of the old store, right where my lights were pointed at. I looked up, but I did not see anything more. So, I just looked back down at my phone. Then, over the sounds of the night, the distant hum of my engine, I then heard something. Someone yelled, "Hey, buddy, come over here." Their voice was rough and in a really demanding tone. My head snapped up again. I looked in the direction of the voice, and kid you not, there was literally a dude standing by the old store. He was looking towards me, completely illuminated by my headlights. He looked like a run-of-the-mill homeless guy. Scruffy beard, old clothes. I was honestly spooked. I figured he must have been squatting there, or something. Still watching him, I rolled down my window slightly. I then yelled something like, "Yeah, what's up?" all while still mentally cramping myself. I had my foot ready to floor it, to get out of there at the first sign of trouble. He stared at me. "You got any change?" he called out. "Nah, man, I don't. Sorry, man," I replied. My voice was a little strained. I looked up at him. He had this kind of vacant expression. His eyes were hollow, and he was standing stiff. His body was rigid. Then I see more movement around him. There are heads, about 20 or so heads, peeking around the trees, beyond the man that I am talking to. I cannot see them clearly at all. They are too far in the shadows, but they are definitely people. Literally just heads, staring in my direction. From around the trees, hidden figures. I then see another guy. He is beginning to walk. From around the gas station, he is approaching. At that moment, instinct took over. I turned around. I sped off. My tires spun on the dirt road. I got as far away from that place as my tank could carry me. My gas light was blinking furiously. I updated AAA on my location. The driver came over. He filled me up. I did not say anything about the figures in the woods. I was still too shaken. But after he left, I really wanted to call the cops. So, I decided to call the nearest town sheriff department. I explained the situation. They said they would send a trooper over, and I gave them the location. When I finally arrived to my aunt's house, they called me back. They said whoever was there was gone, but that they could definitely tell that there was a large number of people that had been living there for a while. They found blankets, canned food, the usual signs of a camp. This whole situation still really freaks me out. The thought of all those hidden eyes staring from the darkness, it chills me. But frankly, I really consider myself lucky that I will always have such a creepy story to tell people. I am just really glad nothing bad happened. I escaped, unharmed. It was a close call, a truly eerie encounter. The memory of those silent observers, it reminds me that sometimes the greatest fear comes from the unseen, from the unknown. This happened to me a few years ago. I am a mid-20s, single female. I live in a rural small town. As a woman, we are taught many things growing up. We learn to be cautious, to be aware. Unfortunately, I am not really the best at remembering or thinking things through sometimes. I can be a bit absent-minded. Because of this, the one rule I've always stuck with me is keeping a large, intimidating dog with me at all times. My dog, a loyal American bully, is my shadow, and he may have saved me from an abduction at the gas station. I am a bit of a night owl. I often find my most productive hours after sunset. One night, I was really on a roll. I had finished cleaning my entire house. My homework was done. My regular work tasks were completed. And I even got a workout in. I felt accomplished. The next day, I was leaving town for a trip. So, I was finishing up my night by packing up all my bags and preparing everything for the journey. As I finished loading up my car, I did not realize that I forgot to fill up the tank. My heart sank when I saw the fuel gauge. This was around 3:30 in the morning at this point. The town was quiet. Without much thought for the time, I figured I would hop over to the gas station. It was a few blocks from the neighborhood. I would fill up really quick. Then I could take a nap, and then hit the road. I called for my dog. He immediately came to my side. We loaded all up. We went to the gas station. I live in a more rural area, so you do not really ever hear of anything bad or creepy here. It is generally a peaceful place, so it honestly did not even cross my mind to be cautious. As I then pulled into the empty gas station, the place is located on the side of a highway. There are no buildings around it, just open land. And I kind of just figured since the place was so dead, and it would be a quick stop. My routine is to always roll down my windows whenever I stop the car with my dog inside, as we have really hot summers where I live, and he has actually locked me out before by stepping on the lock button. It has become so ingrained that even during the winter or with other people in the car, I always automatically roll the windows down. Just like any other stop, I pull up to the pump. I start to pump my gas. Then I turn to look in my car to keep an eye on my dog as he is staring out the windshield, watching the world. At the click of the nozzle finishing, the gas tank was full. I then turned around and found myself face to face with a tall, thin man. He was dressed in dark clothes. There was maybe about 6 inches between our faces. He had appeared silently. My heart leaped into my throat. Pretty startled, I stumbled backwards. I gasped as he reached toward me. Without speaking a single word, his hand was outstretched. I do not know that I have ever felt so terrified. While it was already probably less than a second, my brain was already reeling. It was racing with ways to escape from this man. My fight or flight response was in full swing. Before I had any time to react further, my dog flew right out of my SUV window. He leaped out with surprising speed. He landed on the concrete, between me and the stranger. I will tell you what, I've never once felt afraid of my dog. He is a gentle giant with me. But seeing him in that moment, well, I found myself taking yet another shaky step backwards. He looked like a freaking porcupine. I'm not kidding. Every single hair on his body stood straight up. He was transformed. I honestly could not take my eyes off my dog. He was magnificent. As I then heard a low rumble come from him, a deep, guttural growl. His entire body looked to be vibrating with controlled power. I could see the corners of his lips pulled into a snarl. His teeth were bared. His tail stood straight up into the air, rigid and alert. And it was like he was standing right on his tippy toes, leaning forward with his chest puffed out, his ears pushed forward, his eyes locked on this man. There was drool dripping from his mouth. It is like he was trying to make himself much more larger and more intimidating than he was. A force to be reckoned with. Maybe about 2 more seconds pass before the man turned to run. He tripped over the gas line, which caused it to spill a little, then scrambling back to his feet. He totally disappeared into the dark. He vanished as quickly as he appeared. My dog did not even move for a few more moments after that. He stood his ground. His focus remained on the empty space where the man had been. We ran inside the gas station. We immediately called the police. We explained what had happened. They arrived quickly. They searched the area, but they did not find the guy. He was gone. I honestly did not know if his intentions were to hurt me, or if he was just looking to ask for money, but it was easily one of the most terrifying moments of my life. The silent approach, the reaching hand, the sudden fear. I do not go to the gas station in the middle of the night alone anymore, and I honestly probably will not ever again. My dog saved me. He was my protector, my loyal guardian. He sensed the danger, and he acted. Without hesitation, I am forever grateful for his presence, and for his fierce, protective nature. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictable nature of the world, and the comfort of a loyal companion who will stand between you and danger. My mom used to work the night shift at a gas station. This was in the early 90s. It was one of those mom and pop gas stations, a small independent business. Typically, there was only about one person working the station at a time, especially during the late hours. During the night of the story, my mom's schedule had overlapped with one of her co-workers for 2 hours. This was apparently because there had been an armed robbery in the same area the night before. So, the owner was a bit concerned about being the next target of the robbers. It was a precautionary measure. After about 2 hours, my mom's coworker left. My mom was alone in the station again. About a half hour later, a goth girl came into the station. She was dressed in dark clothes. She had heavy makeup. She bought a pack of cigarettes. The girl was fidgety, but she was polite. My mom told the girl to have a good night, and then began to clean the hot dog case. It was a routine task. As my mom starts cleaning, she notices something. The girl does not leave the station. She just stands there. The girl then starts walking around for about 5 minutes, just looking at random items on the shelves. My mom finally stops what she is doing. She then asks the girl if she needs anything. Her voice was polite. The girl goes up to the counter. She tells my mom that her car ran out of gas just up the street, so she needs to get some gas. The girl does not have a gas can. My mom grabs one of the gas cans from behind the counter and then tells the girl the price of the can. The girl then says that she does not have enough money for the can. Mind you, she literally just bought a pack of cigarettes moments before. My mom kind of wears her heart on her sleeve, more than she wants to sometimes. So, she tells the girl that she will buy the gas can for her. It was an act of kindness. The girl then smiles and thanks my mom profusely. My mom lets the girl know that she does not have enough money to buy gas for herself, let alone for somebody else. The girl seems to accept this, and then thanks my mom profusely again for the gas can. Goth girl says she has someone she can call, who will stop by the station and give her some gas money. My mom did not ask if she has enough change for the payphone. The girl says yes, she does. She thanked my mom yet again for the gas can, then leaves the store. My mom is really good at reading people, and while the goth girl seemed polite on the surface, there was something about the whole situation that was really giving my mom bad vibes, an unsettling feeling. My mom looks at the surveillance footage that gives an outside view of the station. She sees the girl. Instead of walking to the payphone, which is just left of the front door, the girl starts walking to a van that is parked really close to the station's exit. It was a dark, nondescript van. The girl then walks up to the passenger side of the van, and she starts talking to someone who is inside the van. She points a few times at the station. While my mom is secretly praying she is not about to be robbed. The conversation between the goth girl and whoever was in the van only lasts about a minute or two, and my mom just watches as the goth girl starts walking right back to the station. Her heart pounds. The goth girl comes back to the station. She tells my mom that she had got some gas money from her uncle, but then when she tried pumping gas, she had some trouble with the handle of the gas pump. Mind you, the gas pumps at the station are literally your basic no-thrills pumps. Very simple to operate. The girl then asked my mom if she could come outside and help her. My mom pretends to be calm, but she then starts to panic on the inside. A cold dread spreads through her. She then tells the girl that she cannot leave the station. It is company policy. So, she asked the girl to try another pump. The girl says she tried them all, but she just cannot figure out how they work. She asked again if my mom would come outside and just show her how one of the station's pumps work. My mom apologizes. She then explains that she is not able to leave the station unattended, or she will be fired. She tells the girl that there is a gas station just a block up the street, and that they always have multiple employees on staff. So, she should be able to get someone to help her over there. The girl starts to whine. Her face twists. She starts to let out this really eerie sort of snarl, a low, guttural sound. She then gives the fakest, biggest smile she can muster, and tells my mom that she will only be gone for a minute, and that she really needs my mom's help now. When she said that she really needed her help, her teeth were clenched. Her smile was a grimace, and she started stomping up and down, like a pouting toddler. Goth girl then starts breathing excitedly, like she is a rabid animal. Her eyes are wide and wild. At this point, my mom then drops all pretenses of being nice. Her face hardens. She gives the girl what she calls her cold stare, and then says, "So, by the way, I saw you talking with your friends outside, and I already called the cops and gave them your friend's license plate number. They should be here in just a minute. They're so fast in this town." Mom was, of course, bluffing. She had not called anyone yet, and luckily for her, the girl seems to believe her. Her eyes widen in panic. Goth girl quickly leaves the store. She gets inside the van, and right before she can fully shut the side door, the van is then peeling right out of the parking lot. tires screeching. My mom did wind up calling the police later on, and then gave a general description of the van and the girl. It did not take too long for the police to find the van, and it had apparently been abandoned on the side of the road, near a wooded area. The girl and her friends had used hammers and box cutters to destroy the van's interior. It was a total mess. The police did not know what the girl and her friends had planned to do to my mom, but they said whatever it was, it probably was not even just robbery. My mom wound up turning in her 2-week notice shortly after this happened. The experience had shaken her deeply. My mom's advice to anyone listening to this story is to always trust your good instincts. They just might save your life one day. It was a chilling encounter, a calculated trap, and a lucky escape. I am a 24-year-old male. This happened to me a few years ago, when I was around 21. I remember because it was shortly after my birthday in December. It was really cold outside. There was snow on the ground. We had just had a snowstorm pass through our area. The world was blanketed in white. I lived with my parents at the time, and my mom is not really a fan of driving in the snow. So, she asked me if I could drive her to the gas station. She needed to pick up some cigarettes for her and my dad, as well as a few other items they might have needed. I said sure, as I was not really doing anything at the time. I grabbed my keys, then following her to the car. I remember the cold air hitting your face pretty hard that night. It stung, so it had to be at least around the teens, which made the snow, and whatever else was on the roads, really slippery. This is important to know for later on in the story. The nearest gas station was about 5 minutes away from us, but given the conditions of the roads, the ice and snow, it took us about 10 minutes to get there. Once I was able to park the car, my mom got out, then made her way inside the store. From where I was parked, I could see her inside the store. She was standing in the line that was leading up to the register. I kept the car running, as it was really cold, and I just did not want to be sitting in the car without any heat. I was browsing on my phone, while waiting for my mom to get done. Right around that time, I had seen her finally approach the register. That is when a black truck pulled up. It pulled into the parking spot right next to my car. I found this a bit unusual, given that the parking lot was almost empty. So, there was really no reason for them to park right next to the spot where I was. But I kind of just chalked it up to them wanting to be as close to the entrance as they could. And given how cold it was that night, no one got out of the truck at first, but I did not even notice this until I looked up to see my mom walking out of the entrance. Back to the car, I glanced over to the truck's passenger side window, and I could just make out a figure sitting in the passenger seat, and they were facing in my direction. My mom opened the door, then got inside, before then asking me what I was looking at. I told her about the truck pulling up. Well, over a few minutes ago, around the same time that she approached the register, but that nobody had gotten out. She first chalked it up to maybe they were just waiting for someone inside the store to come out. But when I mentioned seeing a figure in the passenger side of the car, looking towards our direction, she then began to sense why I was so spooked out by it. A wave of unease passed through her. She told me to just back out and get out of there, and that we did not need to worry about them once we drove off. As soon as I put the car into reverse and then began to back up, the passenger door of the truck swung open and hit the side of my car. A loud thud echoed in the cold air. A tall, very built man stepped out from the truck. As soon as the door made contact with my car, I hit the brakes as soon as I felt the contact, and the man stood there before throwing his hands up at me and then staring in my direction. His eyes were cold and accusing. I did not really know what to do, as I had never really been in any sort of accident before, and my mom was sitting right there next to me and could see as well as I had that the door had not been opened until we had already started moving. It was clearly his fault, The man slowly walked up to my window and just stood there. His presence was menacing. I cracked it very slowly, just a tiny slit, and I told the man that I was sorry, but that I did not see the door open as I was backing out. For a brief moment, he did not really say anything. That is before he simply asked, "Roll down your window a little bit more. I can barely hear you." I knew this could not be true, as it was really quiet in that area, and I was not even speaking in a low tone. I told him that I would prefer to keep it cracked, as I really did not want to let cold air get into the car. This really angered the man. His face hardened. He immediately spoke in a more angry tone now. He was telling me to roll down my window, yet again. His voice was louder now. I again told him no. And this is when things then took a turn for the absolute worse. Without any warning whatsoever, the man smacked my window really hard with his hand. The impact made a sickening thud. Startled, I immediately jumped back and rolled the window up completely. My mom was right beside me, just absolutely yelling for me to just back out and leave. Her voice was panicked, but I was really afraid of hitting the man in the process, as he was still right next to my car. The man kept smacking my window really hard, a few more times, before he then tried punching it. His fist slammed against the glass. It was right at this point where I realized that if I did not get my mom and I out of there fast, this guy was definitely going to hurt us. I could see the cashier inside the gas station. He had heard what was going on, and he looked to be on the phone with what I could only assume was the police. But there was absolutely no way I could wait for them, as the man was now both punching at my window and now kicking my door. His movements were frantic. It was like some switch had been flipped on in this man's head, and he had just totally lost it. I told my mom to hold on, as I put the car into reverse again, and backed out of there as fast as I could, just barely missing the guy by a few inches. I pulled fully out of the parking spot before the man ran out in front of our car and slammed his hand right on the hood. The car jolted. I sat there frozen, not knowing what to do, as the man looked right back at me. His eyes were full of unbridled rage. I turned the car wheel. I sped around him, trying to avoid him the best that I could, before booking it the hell out of there. After that, I honestly thought that was the end of it. But as we made our way down the road to a stoplight, I was able to see headlights that were fast approaching from behind our car. And once it was close enough behind us, I could then see that it was the same truck. The man was in. There appeared to be two people inside of it. I assumed the man I encountered must have been the passenger. I guess the driver was someone I had not noticed before. I told my mom that it was them behind us, and she started to freak out. She called my dad, then letting him know what was going on. We were still probably about 10 minutes away from our house, given the road conditions. But I knew that there was no way that I could get us back to our house in that amount of time, before these guys tried to ram us off the road, or whatever else they had planned for us. My dad told my mom for us to attempt to head back towards our house, and that he would try and meet us halfway in his truck. She told me this, and I agreed that this had to be our best option, given that I could not turn around and head back to the gas station, still not knowing if the police had even been called or not. So, once the light turned green, I punched on the gas and sped off. I'm going to be completely honest. I really was not being that cautious of the road at this point, as there really were not any other cars at this point of the night. There were a few times where the car slid from the ice on the road, and I knew that it would only take one wrong turn of the wheel to lose control completely. But I was not going to slow down and let these guys catch up to us. After about a few minutes of driving, we were able to see headlights right in front of us on the other side of the road. I was thinking that it had to be my father, and as we got a little closer, we were able to make out his truck beyond the lights. Very surprisingly, the truck was still behind us, still keeping pace with me, given the road conditions. I could see my father cut across a midsection of the roads, and then stop shortly off the side of the road. I started to slow down right as we approached, and then pulled off to the side of the road. the truck still following me as I came to a stop. The same man from before, that was in the passenger seat, hopped out of the car, then started making his way to our car. The driver opened his door, but before he could step out, both of the men stopped dead in their tracks at the sound of my father's voice. His voice was calm, but commanding. "I suggest that both of you hop back in that car and drive right on out of here before I put a bullet in the both of you." I could see my dad walking out into the light, radiating from both his and my headlights. He had his 9mm pistol pulled and aimed right at the man's head as he stood right next to my car. I pretty much just watched as both of the men just stood there for a brief moment. As my dad slowly inched his way towards them, the man then very slowly backed away towards his truck. Before then, speaking to what I assumed was my father. "You're really lucky you got here when you did." The man laughed. A hollow sound. He jumped back into his truck before it quickly backed out and drove off in the other direction. My dad walked to my window. He asked me and my mom if we were okay. I remembered telling him that other than being scared senseless, I think we were fine. Shortly afterwards, my dad followed us back home, just to make sure no one else followed us. I really have no idea what those men's intentions were, or why the man acted the way he did. All I know is that if I had not reacted how I did to get my mom and I out of there, I just really hate to think what those men would have done to us. It was a terrifying night, a truly harrowing experience, one that I will never forget, and one that makes me grateful for family and for the courage to act, even in the face of extreme danger. For some context, I am a 22-year-old female. At the time this happened, I was 18 years old. I had moved to the nearest city from my hometown. It was about 2 hours away. I moved to go to community college. I was going to get a degree in fine arts. It was an exciting new chapter. I lived in a relatively really big dorm with 3 other roommates who were also female. The dorms happened to be located in the back of the college, near downtown, situated behind a steakhouse, a nightclub, and a gas station. The area was sort of in a seedy part of the city, so I tended to be a little cautious whenever I went out, especially at night. The streets were often dimly lit. One of those nights, I had been craving some junk foods. I wanted to grab some snacks to eat while I was watching a movie in my dorm, so I decided to head out to the nearby gas station. I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and then my phone, then told my roommates where I was going. I was really close by, so I was able to walk to it whenever I wanted to, though I would typically avoid it at night, since it really sent off some really creepy vibes. The shadows seemed to lengthen. When I finally arrived there, I opened the door, then went inside it. It was pretty quiet, save for one guy, who was hanging out near the liquor in the back. The girl at the counter seemed to be scrolling through her phone, seeing as she did not really have much to do. So, I went ahead and started looking at things I wanted to buy. Though I gotta say, the closer I got to the back, the more that I could hear this sort of muttering. The guy who I had seen entering the store seemed to just be muttering absolute nonsense to himself. It was not that quiet, so I was not able to make out what he was saying clearly. I did not really think too much of it, and I just went back to what I was doing. A few minutes had passed, and as I was still shopping, the dude who I had seen in the back suddenly started yelling now, just absolutely shouting random, incomprehensible things. Every single second that went by, he seemed to get angrier. His voice rose in volume. The man was pacing back and forth, and he was waving his arms around wildly. I was pretty much just standing there, glued to the spot, absolutely terrified of this man. My heart pounded in my chest. I did not know what to do, and I was not sure if this guy was drunk, high, or just crazy. His eyes seemed glazed over. The girl at the cash register seemed to have been alerted to his presence as well. We had made eye contact, and she looked just as terrified as I did. We were in this together, both caught in a state of suspended fear. We both just watched as this man then ranted, raved, and began to pace around the store, his voice echoing off the shelves. I was unsure if I should call the police or not. I was trying to be quiet, as to not alert him of my presence, as I just really did not know what he was capable of. Another few minutes went by, and this guy then started yelling and screaming, until he then walked up to the front, kicked over a few things, and then left the store. He stormed out. I watched the guy then disappear right into the night, my heart now hammering in my chest. I had genuinely thought that I was going to get attacked by this crazy man. Thankfully, he left though, without causing too much damage. I walked up to the poor, frightened cashier and paid for my stuff. I also ended up giving her some extra cash because I felt really bad. I mean, I know she was not getting paid enough to deal with people like that crazy-ass man. So, I just wanted to help her out. That is pretty much the end of my story. Though I do not know what happened with the man, and I do not know if he ever returned to the gas station. But I am just really hoping that I do not encounter him again. The memory of his uncontrolled rage, his wild movements, it is a chilling reminder of the fragile line between order and chaos, and the vulnerability of being in a public space with an unpredictable stranger. It was a terrifying experience, one that highlighted the quiet bravery of people who work alone in such unpredictable environments. I was lucky that he left, lucky that I was not his target. It left a lasting impression of fear and of gratitude. I remember an incident that occurred to me when I was 18 years old. I am 27 now. I was home alone one evening. The house was quiet. I decided I wanted a coffee from Quick Trip. It was really late at night, at about 11 o'clock in the evening. The Quick Trip I drove to was about a 7-minute drive from my house. This was not an out-of-ordinary thing that I did. I would pretty regularly go out late to buy whatever I was craving. It was my routine, so I get in my car and I drive over there. The parking lot was well lit, but mostly empty. I go inside and I go to fill up a coffee cup. I like their specific blend. I walk up to the glass case where they have the bakery items. Right as I'm browsing the muffins and pastries, an odd-looking man then approaches me. The man was balding on the top of his head, and he had this brown, scraggly hair around the sides. He was not very tall. He looked about 5'6", and he looked like he was in his late 40s to early 50s. He started up a conversation with me. His voice was raspy. He asked me what I was looking for. I was not really paying him any mind. I gave him a short answer. That was until he then asked me a very strange question. He asked if I had ever had a little people soup. My brow furrowed. I told him no. I had never heard of such a thing, and he then proceeded to tell me exactly what it was. The man then said, "My mom used to make it all the time for me." He paused. His eyes had a strange glint. "You put carrots and potatoes in the stew," he continued. "Then you grab your little people, then clip their toenails." He went on, "and shave their heads, and throw them into your soup." My blood ran cold. No, I would have normally brushed something like this off as a bizarre joke, or a sign of an eccentric person. But for whatever reason, I felt my blood run cold. An immense fear took over me. His eyes were wide. His expression was too serious. Fight or flight then kicked in, and I just knew I had to leave immediately. An employee walks by me. He was stocking shelves. I quickly caught his eye. I let him know that I am totally freaking out. My voice was shaky. He stopped. He asked me why. His face was concerned. I began to reiterate what the man had told me. The words felt strange coming out of my mouth, and he just gave me a really confused look. He must have seen the fear right in my face, because he told me not to worry about paying and to just get home safely. He ushered me out. His quick response was a relief. I did not hesitate. I left the store. I got into my car. I drove straight home. My mind was reeling. Ever since that day, I have always feared that I will run into that creepy old man yet again. His words are burned into my memory. The image of little people soup is horrifying, but I just really hope that never happens. I avoid that quick trip now, especially late at night. The thought of him, still out there, haunts me. What kind of person would say something like that? Was it a dark fantasy? Or something more sinister? I do not know, and I do not want to know. It was a brief encounter, but it was profoundly disturbing. A chilling reminder of the strange and unsettling individuals you can encounter in the most ordinary of places. A simple coffee run. It turned into a nightmare scenario, one that still makes me shudder. This story happened to me over 10 years ago, when I was 17 and living in Las Vegas. It might not be that scary to most people, but it was incredibly strange for me. I had pulled into a gas station. It was near my home. I was with one of my friends, Aaron. It was a pretty well-populated suburb, so it was not like we were alone or in any immediate danger or anything like that. As we were getting out of my car, my friend Aaron spots another one of our friends. He was walking up towards us. So now there were 3 of us. We were standing under the pumps. It was really well lit. The bright fluorescent lights hummed above us as everyone is chatting. This obviously homeless man then walks up to us. He was pushing a dolly with about 50 cases of eggs stacked on it. Keep in mind, it is midsummer in Las Vegas, so it is like hot as balls outside. The heat was stifling. The homeless guy comes up, and he starts asking us if we want to buy some eggs from him. Now, if this happened to me right now, I would probably give the guy some money, because obviously he is having a hard time. But I was really an insensitive teenager back then. Plus, I also did not have any cash on me, and I did not think to get any cash back from the cashier. Pretty much immediately, I am telling him, eggs are perishable, and I'm not really interested in buying some old hot eggs. My tone was a bit dismissive. Then we start questioning him. Where did you get all these eggs? Why do you have these? I'm asking more out of curiosity than anything malicious. He just kind of sidesteps my questions. He avoids answering directly. He just says that he needs to buy his mom a prescription. And then once again, he asks if we want some eggs from him. My friend Aaron is now kind of laughing and generally just really confused, and also still questioning him about why he thinks he is on the market for some eggs from a guy at a gas station. The man is getting a little frustrated now that no one wants to buy them, and then starts to explain that he's just trying to buy his mom a birthday card. At this point, my friend, who's 21, is then just standing there and asking him, "Wait, I thought you were buying your mom a prescription. Which is it now?" I'm still on the other side of the car, kinda just dumbfounded that she thought that any of the reasons this guy had for selling hot, old, obviously stolen eggs at a gas station were in any way not related to drugs. His story clearly did not make sense. The guy is still standing there, trying to explain to her some crap about it being his mom's birthday and that she is also sick. I finally cut him off, and I politely tell him no thank you, and that we are just really not interested in buying his eggs. Then I begin to walk away and go pay for gas. As this happens, she begins to talk to the other person that we knew, who had walked up to us, and the guy with the eggs then begins to follow me towards the gas station entrance. He keeps a few paces behind me. The guy starts telling me, "You're really pretty. You have beautiful eyes." He continued, "But I'm a little old for you though," and then begins telling me how he is in his 50s. I still was not even remotely uncomfortable or scared. I just kind of laughed it off, like, yeah, a little. I'm 17. I definitely did not look good. But usually that puts weird dudes off a little. Even though in Nevada, you can have a relationship with someone over 16, no matter how old you are. It is a strange law. The dude kind of laughs, And he then says, "I might be too old for you, but I'd give you a gumming like no man has ever before." This really took me aback. My laughter died. I stopped in my tracks. We were a considerable distance from my friends, and not yet to the gas station door. I kind of just stopped. Like, did anyone else just hear this? Then looking around for an escape from this conversation, and just hoping my friends at least saw this happen. I have never before in my life heard some weird thing like this. It was so vulgar, so unexpected. I cannot even remember how I got out of it and walked away from him. But at that moment, I was really just stunned by the strangeness of it all. I believe the whole conversation lasted a total of about 10 minutes. As I got back to my car, the man was gone. He had vanished. I just really could not begin to fathom how any of that was even real. It was too bizarre. I do not know. But it is definitely one of the creepiest experiences that I have ever had. Hopefully nothing like this happens again. The memory of the eggs, the strange man, and his unsettling comments. It lingers. A bizarre, unforgettable encounter at a very ordinary gas station. Let me preface the story with a little background information. I am a college student, and I am majoring in engineering. I am currently away from school, on a co-op rotation with a major company. My company is headquartered in a larger city, and I'm working in a smaller site, just north of headquarters. I live in a small township in the suburbs. It is a gated apartment complex in a very nice area with very low crime rates. It feels safe. Now, I regularly go on jogs, with my music on full blast, and my dog right at my side. We walk around at night. It is by all accounts a very safe place to live, and I felt very safe here. That is until today. I woke up and got ready for work like normal. The morning was cold and crisp when I got in my car. Not only was it basically frozen over, but I noticed that I was low on gas. The fuel light was on. I decided not to risk it and fill up before work. Once my front and back windows defrosted, just enough for me to see clearly, I drove a block down the road to my usual fill-up spot. It has lots of pumps, and it usually is not even packed, and it is also super close to my apartment. They also have usually lower prices than any of the other gas stations in the area. I am pulling into the parking lot, and there is not another car anywhere, save for a semi-truck parked by the doors, and all the employee cars around the side. All the pumps are open. I pull up to the farthest right pump. I hop out of the car as I am swiping my card and doing all that fun stuff to start the pump. Another car then pulls up. I did not get a real good look at it honestly, but it was not shiny or new. It looked like an older model. I barely paid any attention to it until the car stopped at the pump on the other side of my own. So, you know how pumps are double-sided. Of all the open pumps available in the lot, the driver chose the one connected to the one that I was currently using. So yeah, not exactly perfect pandemic manners. Still, I did not really think too much of it. At least not initially. I just thought it was a bit rude. I could hear the other driver swiping their card and entering their PIN number. I was freezing cold and just trying to hurry. I turned around and put the nozzle in the car, and I just stood there for a minute. Very foolishly, I decided to keep my back turned. I did not want to have any contact with that person. So, I just tried to pretend that nobody was there. I focused on the cold, on the sound of the pump. Once I filled up, I removed the nozzle and then turned around, still keeping to myself and not even lifting my eyes to meet theirs. I finished the transaction and got my receipt. While I was waiting for the receipt to print, I looked up casually. My eyes drifted. I almost fell flat on the pavement when I saw him. A man peering around the corner of the pump, just staring at me. His eyes were fixed on mine. You know how sometimes people describe creepy people as having an inhuman quality? Well, I never really understood that until today. The way this man looked at me, It sent a shiver down my spine. His eyes were just really cold and unyielding. They seemed devoid of emotion. He was not blinking or moving, but his gaze was growing even more intense. There was something animalistic in the way he stared at me. I felt like a deer being watched by a mountain lion. The hairs on the back of my neck stood up. My instincts were screaming at me to run. This all took place in the span of just a couple seconds, but it felt like a lifetime. Each second stretched into an eternity. I very quickly opened my car door. I fumbled for the handle. When I did so, the man moved his head, tilting it to the side, to peer into my car. He was clearly trying to see inside. I did not really consider it at the time, but I think he might have been looking to see if I was alone. I intentionally blocked the view of the inside of my car with my body. I positioned myself to obscure his view and then closed the door very quickly. I then locked it immediately. So, you know how earlier I mentioned that my car was nearly frozen over? Well, by now the front and back windows were entirely clear. The side windows, however, were almost still all icy. There was a single strip of clarity in the driver's side window, a result of me rolling the window down a few moments prior in an attempt to clear it off. As I hastily buckled my seatbelt, I ventured a glance to my left. The man was still there, still staring, but he had now inched closer. I could see more of his body now than before. He was tall, with dark hair, and a well-built frame. He was certainly much larger than me. He seemed a few years older than me, had it not been for those eyes. I might have even said that he was attractive, but those eyes, they were just haunting. They were cold. They were empty. I decided to do the logical thing and get myself the hell out of there as fast as possible. I did not want to chance him being able to follow me, though my work has really great security. I did not want him knowing where I worked. I do not really know if this man was just a creeper, maybe something much darker, but I do not want to find out, ever. I put my car in reverse and sped out of the parking lot. My tires squealed on the cold pavement. I did not look back. The image of his unblinking eyes is burned into my mind, a chilling reminder of a silent threat and the strange, unsettling nature of some encounters. It made me question my sense of safety, even in a familiar, low-crime area. That cold gaze, it will stay with me forever. I live in a small town where everyone knows everyone. Our town is normally pretty great. We throw community events. We light up a town Christmas tree and lots of other things that bring people together. That being said, our town has a serious issue, and that is an old rundown building just outside of town that is absolutely crawling with tweakers, homeless drug addicts who constantly vandalize and steal. From all of the hard-working locals, it is a constant problem. Right at around 11:30 at night, I had pulled up to the only gas station in town that stays open late. After a closing shift at work, I was tired. I got out of my Jeep and I started heading into the store to prepay for my gas. I noticed a rusty old BMX bike leaned up against the side of the building, and I took a really deep breath, as that is usually the sign that someone sketchy was in there. A familiar knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. I continued to walk in, and I was pleasantly surprised to find an empty store, besides myself and the cashier. I figured maybe whoever owned the bike was just in the washroom, and if I was fast enough, I could pay and be back in my Jeep before they even came out. I know it sounds like I'm judging people who do not drive or use bikes as a form of transportation, but after seeing so many CCTV pictures of sketchy tweakers riding bikes around and breaking into businesses on my town's community group page, you come to be a little more cautious when you see them. So anyway, I pay for my gas and I head out to my car. I did not hear the bathroom door open, but I still found myself speed walking right to the pump so that I can just fill up and get the hell out of there. After all, it was late and dark, and I felt a heavy blanket of anxiety then cover me. As I stood outside, alone, I eventually got back to my car, and I start to unscrew my gas cap. I have one of those caps that completely screws off, and I usually just set it right on my back bumper. As I went to set it down, I had caught a glimpse of a man leaning against the gas pump, directly across from me. He had not been there before. I felt my stomach drop, as he was not wearing one of the gas station uniforms, and there was no other cars fueling up, other than myself. He was just standing there, watching. I looked at him, as I debated turning around to press the regular gas button to pay inside. I did not want to look away and give him the chance to approach me. Without being aware of it, I tried to put myself between the pump and my car, but the way I had parked made it kind of difficult to maneuver the nozzle the right way. My heart was beating rapidly, and all I could think about was what he could want, or what he was doing there. After what felt like years of contemplation, I turned around and almost slammed the button and started to pump the gas. I kept my eyes low as I tried to watch his movements, but there were not any. He just stood stiff, tall, lanky, with his eyes submitted to me, 5 feet apart. His gaze was unwavering. I had paid to fill my tank, as I was on empty, and the pumps are painfully slow. So, I decided to slide between the pump of my car and just wait in there. I tried to look back without being too obvious, but by the time that I had adjusted enough to clearly see where he was not there. My heart then sank. He was gone. In those matter of seconds, he had seemingly vanished from his lurking point. Maybe he was just hiding behind the gas pump. Maybe he walked away into the surrounding darkness. I waited quietly, barely moving, until I then felt the click of the gas pump. It was full. I grabbed my cute pink Cabela's pocket knife, and I did one last sweep. To make sure I could not see him hiding somewhere, I got out, and it was silent. I thought that he had lost interest. So, I relaxed my shoulders, then putting my knife in my coat pocket, I grabbed the nozzle, and I placed it back in the holster, with my back to the pump, where the guy had been, struggling a bit to place it back in there properly. I finally turned around to grab my gas cap, screw it on, and dip the hell out of there. I spun around quickly, and there he was, face to face, with maybe 5 inches between us, stood the man who was leaning against the pump. Just 5 to 10 minutes before, his face was sunken in, and he had dark purple bags under his bloodshot, wide-open eyes. His cheekbones looked like they were threatening to rip through his skin. He looked absolutely terrifying. I did not know what to do. I stood there for a couple of seconds, dizzy, ready to throw up, scream, or pass out. Whichever came first. I was terrified. I wanted to grab the pocket knife, but I could not make myself move. He stared at me, his gaze unwavering, before opening his mouth wide, like as wide as he could, and without hesitation or breaking eye contact. He just started laughing. Not a normal, funny joke kind of laugh, but like a stereotypical evil murderer laugh. A cackle that sent chills down my spine. I thought I was going to die. I thought that he was going to pull a knife, or a gun, well, maybe even strangle me. But he simply just turned on his heels and walked away, still laughing. His horrifying laughter echoed in the night. I watched him walk about 500 feet away before I convinced my body to grab my gas cap and get the hell back in my car. My hands were shaking. I do not know what that man wanted, what he was on, or what he planned on doing, or why he did not do anything. I do not know if he owned the bike, or someone else left it there. But what I do know is that it is absolutely vital to be constantly aware of your surroundings. I am really lucky that I only got laughed at, instead of God knows what else. It was a terrifying, surreal encounter, one that I will never forget, and one that reinforces my vigilance. By 13 years old, I had moved away a little farther. My hair was a little longer, and I was constantly getting mistaken and hit on by much older men who claimed that they thought I was at least 18. It was an uncomfortable reality. I had met my best friend that year, Tyra. She lived in a mobile home park, right across the street from our local grocery store. Sure, fine. We practically lived at each other's houses back then. We were inseparable. This one weekend in 6th grade was no different. Just for an idea, if your back is to the grocery store, there is a road directly in front of the parking lot to said grocery store, and directly in front and down the hill is the mobile home park. And just to the left of it, more up the hill towards the road, is a Sheetz gas station. Tara and I had been goofing around, watching some really embarrassing movies at her trailer that I will not mention, when we decided we wanted to take a break and take a walk outside and grab some energy drinks to keep us up all night. Tara's mom was really wonderful, and she completely trusted us. It was already dark out, but Sheetz was just up a hill. We did not even have to cross a road to get there. It felt safe. But Tara's little sister, Bethany, who was around 10 at the time, begged to come with us. So, reluctantly, we agreed. We were being really loud and weird, as we always were with each other, sharing one inside joke after another, much to Bethany's annoyance. The people in the neighboring mobile homes had shot us disapproving looks, or would jeer at us as we walked by. We were just getting into the light of the Sheetz gas station when Bethany became notably embarrassed by how we were acting. Now, I need you to understand how we were being. Tara was making really loud quotes from SpongeBob, as well as imitating their voices, while I was circling Bethany as I squatted into a crab walk and then snapped my hands like claws. Yeah, no regrets. Anyway, a couple of the people at the pumps had turned and looked at us weird, but Tara and I brought the weird out of each other, and we were laughing so hard, it just really did not matter. Bethany rushed in and away from us, while Tara and I calmed down a bit, and we entered the gas station. We had took our time, picking out snacks and drinks, with the generous $20 Tara's mom had given us. There were a few other people in the gas station, but Tara and I hardly paid attention. We were too busy picking out candy. We had already been in there close to 10 minutes. When I realized that Bethany was not near us, I told Tara this, and she kind of just laughed and made some joke about some poor sucker kidnapping her. At this point in my life, I had had enough scary encounters that I was really paranoid, so I handed Tara all my stuff, and I told her I was going to peek out to make sure she was standing on the sidewalk. When I first did not see her, my heart skipped a beat, a surge of panic. But then at the end of the walkway, almost shadowed, I saw Bethany standing there with her head down. I call over to her, and she slowly approaches, now complaining that we are the worst. I roll my eyes at her, and I tell her if she stays outside, she's not going to get any candy, to which she then socially walks back in. She just hands Tara all the candy she wants, and then she tells us she's going outside to wait. So, like the mother hen that I am, I tell her to stay by the door. In the light, we are the third in line, but even looking out the big glass door, I do not see her again. Tara tells me not to worry about it, and that her and I go up there all the time, but I am still anxious. When I can finally put down our snacks and energy drinks, right under the counter, I then tell Tara that I'm just going to peek out at Bethany, while she pays. Right as I open the door, and the cold air hits me, I then see Bethany standing only 10 feet away from the corner, closer to the pumps than towards the mobile homes. She is now talking to someone in a lifted black truck with black tinted windows. My heart pounded. I march right over and stand next to Bethany, about to tell this black truck off. But when I peer, the window drops all the way down, and I can see at least 4 grown men in the truck, all of them smiling very stupidly. Their expressions were unsettling. I do not even say anything to them. I immediately look at Bethany. I grab her arm and tell her that we really need to leave. Bethany pulls away from me, and she then snaps that I am not the boss of her. that they were just asking for directions. I hear a laugh from in the truck. Then the driver says to me, "Yeah, baby, we just wanted directions." Tara then walks out and was about to start joking around again. When she fully takes in the situation, she sees the men, the truck, the look on my face. "Look, man, we don't know where anything is," I reply, trying to get Bethany to step away from the truck again. "What do you guys want?" snaps Tara. Her voice is sharp, and the men just laugh again. "Wow, so hostile. We just wanted directions to your bedrooms, ladies." And with all that, the men then roar with laughter. Tara and I just roll our eyes. At this point, I am not scared. I just figured it is some really bored losers, and Tara thinks the same. "We're 13, you losers. Stop being chesters." In case you are not familiar, that is the term we use for pedophiles. "Chester, Chester, the child molester." The men stopped laughing. "No way. You beautiful ladies have to be older than that," says another man. "'Cause another." But we are starting to walk away now. The truck slowly rolls forward, and one of the back doors to the truck then opens. A man, unsteady on his feet and seemingly drunk, staggers out. We freeze and watch for a moment, but luckily, his is the only door that opens. "Come on, we just want to have some fun," he then coos, motioning us towards him. "You guys like having fun, don't you? You didn't shut up when you got here. You had the entire parking lot looking at you, and now you don't want the attention. No, you're not shy." He takes another step forward. Tara looks at me, kind of makes a panic noise, then freaking grabs one of the energy drinks and chucks it at him. If the man had not been so intoxicated, he probably could have easily avoided it. But he was drunk, so it smacked him right in the chest. He made a wheezing noise as he fell to the ground, and before they could do anything else, Tara and I tore off, right towards the mobile homes. Profanities being screamed at us. We were rushing down the hill, but right to the right of us was the dirt trail that led to the mobile park from the gas station. We had not even made it halfway down when we then saw the truck rolling down the dirt path, quickly, obviously trying to catch up, and beat us to the bottom. Bethany was already wheezing from the running, but I was counting on the fact that the dirt path did not directly cut in front of us. Instead, it went straight down the middle, and it had side paths that led to each mobile home. But if they tried to drive through the grass yards right towards us, they are liable to hit whatever trash the neighbors had left in their yard. Luckily, I was right though. They were still a nice sight, but we were able to run all the way to the left, ducking behind the closest mobile home, while they then decided if they were going to risk driving through the grass or follow us on foot. When we heard the car door slam again, we stopped ducking. We ran past the 3 outside trailers, on the end of the rows, and towards Tara's place. We rushed into her little screened-in deck, caught our breath, listening for a moment when we could still hear the shouting. We rushed into Tara's house and then locked the door. Luckily, Tara's mom was in her room, so she did not see us stumbling in like panicked idiots. Tara immediately cornered Bethany, and she told her that if she opened her big mouth, they would have no more freedom, and that she definitely would not be allowed to go with us anymore. We went into the kitchen to open up our shaken energy drinks over the sinks. As they exploded from how shaken up they were, we were able to hear yelling from outside, to which Tara's mom came out and asked what was going on. We must have looked really guilty, but we kind of just shrugged and said we had no idea. Tara's mom rolled her eyes, turned on the porch light, then stepped outside. We immediately pressed our ears against the door, and we could hear Tara's mom yelling at someone that it was really late and they needed to leave. That is when we heard the man swear and say that some girls had attacked his friend. Tara and I shared panicked looks, but her mom was having none of it. She tells him that if some girls really beat up his friend, he must be a really big coward, and tells the man to go to hell and shut up because her husband is trying to sleep. He swears a bit more, but it sounds like he leaves. She looked at us suspiciously and pointed a finger at each of us, as she then said, "I don't know what you guys did, and I don't want to know. She continued, just be careful next time. And with that, she turns to enter her room, then pauses right before she enters, and then says, "Oh, and good job beating up a grown man. I'm proud of you guys." She then winks at us, then closes the door. So yeah, that is my scary gas station story. A night of juvenile antics that quickly turned into a dangerous chase. A lesson in unexpected threats and the surprising strength of a 13-year-old.